Okay, and we are live. Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast. Once again, I got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week?
Doing pretty good. Had a really good weekend, and it looks like this week is shaping up pretty nicely as well. How about you, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. As people may have heard last week and same this week, allergies are all over the place, so I'm trying my best to sound normal. Fun fact for people that were listening last week, I originally planned to live stream the whole Xbox Game Showcase and Summer Games Fest. Uh, various reasons I couldn't do Summer Games Fest, but anyway, I had everything set right for Sunday. I had art made. I had the entire stream set up. Everything I needed for this Xbox showcase. Pre-show, during the show, after show content, everything. And literally about 2 hours before the show went live, my allergies got to the point where sometimes with hay fever you get like a scratchy throat. It was like that for like 2 hours. I was like, right, I had to just wipe the whole thing away and not do it. But because I was able to watch it like a normal person, I think I appreciated it more. So while I will, live stream these things in the future, uh, yeah, that's the reason why I didn't go live on Sunday. But we have a different kind of show today because normally we have anywhere between 12 to 20 plus topics over a 2 hour show. And because of all the Summer Game Show stuff, we have a slightly different show. We have less topics, but obviously people might see the title where it says 100 new games coming to Xbox. That's not hyperbole. It's around actually 109 because, 100 is more clicky than 109 in a title. But yeah, every game that was announced at any showcase this past week that's coming to Xbox, we're going to talk about it. So yeah, around 109 games. It's a lot. So I hope people enjoy. But before we get into all the topics, which we have quite a few today, Logan, what have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing Pragmata. Really enjoying it. Um, Currently have been doing a bunch of the trials and challenges to upgrade my gear and you know guns and mods and Diana's hacking abilities and stuff like that. So I've been doing that a bunch, power washed them. I picked up some games on the sale. Haven't played them yet. Um all in all, just more of same recently. How about you?
A bunch of different games. I'm going to try and keep this brief because apparently I have a tendency to overly glaze Crimson Desert.
Let's talk about Final Fantasy 16. I haven't heard you talk about that one.
Yeah, oh my god, I talked about that one for like 3 months straight. Um,
Or hardship breaker.
yeah, what a game though. Before we continue to what I've been playing, we have the first super chat of the day by Pyro Mad. Thank you very much for the £2. He says, Cassette Beasts 2002. No, I will not shut up about that. Well, I know you loved that last game. I think a lot of people are going to be playing this new one because, for people that don't know, it's kind of a Pokemon style game. Yes, it's also coming to Xbox, and yeah, it looks bigger this time, bigger scope. It looks more 3D, which is cool. But yeah, we have that included in the list, and we've been talking about that as well. But hey, this past few days proves that there's something for everyone. So many different games coming out, so many different genres. Every genre's covered. You got RPGs, first-person shooters, third-person shooters. You got tactical games. Basically, you have any game you want, which has been really nice because my God, I know sometimes we do complain about the lack of variety when it comes to big AAA stuff. No complaints here. And by the way, pricing, I'll talk about quickly before I get into what I've been playing. I've noticed that a lot of companies now are actually doing regional pricing properly in the UK. And I noticed this immediately by seeing the, Xbox Game Showcase section on the Xbox Store. They're actually doing regional pricing properly in the UK. So thank God. But yeah, thank you for the £2 Pyro. We'll be talking about Cassette Beasts in a bit. But yeah, I'll keep what I've been playing brief. I've been playing Crimson Desert. That game's been updated like a billion times since it came out. I want to commend the developers once again because they're paying attention to all the feedback, and I want other developers to look at them because this is a big open world game. It's very ambitious, and yet they can put in brand new features that people have been requesting within weeks of people wanting them. And I'd like to see other, companies try and do this with their games, because if you update a game like this for weeks and months the way they have, you're going to sell more copies, right? A lot of the talk around this game, which is word of mouth, is that, they're making the game constantly better with new features, requested features, and which is making more people buy the game. You have people like me that's rambling on about the game for weeks, and it does work. And I want to see more developers do this. But man, what a good game. Now I have been playing 007 First Light. I have actually decided to take a little break from it, not because it's bad. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely amazing. But I came to realize, it is a 20+ hour game. It might be a long time before we get another Bond game, so I'm trying to space it out a bit because it is that damn good. By the way, Logan, you haven't played the new Bond game yet, right?
Not yet, no.
Okay. But yeah, great game. And by the way, for people watching at home, there's no spoilers or anything when it comes to the gameplay on screen. Now, I can talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth because that game is fantastic. My God. Absolutely incredible game. The only thing I don't like so far, and I think a lot of people would agree, is its install size. Currently, it is bigger than my Call of Duty file. So my Call of Duty install is currently around 152 gigabytes. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is 170 gigabytes. So it's a big download, but it is a huge game. It's a far more ambitious game than Remake Integrate. And I glazed that game maybe too much in January. I will not take it back because that game is borderline perfect. And this is basically what people liked about that game, but it's just on a bigger scope. You have these huge environments. You have deeper combat. You have more party characters now. It's just like way more ambitious. And you can kind of get that off the bat when you start Chapter 2. The game's very open. And that said, I don't want the open world segments to scare some people away, because I think the big appeal of Remake Integrate is that it was hub world, and it wasn't super open world with lots of things to do. Even though this is open world so far, I think that you're very directed. Everything's kind of displayed quickly and easily to the player, that where you should go, when you should go, and all this stuff. By the way, this game does have the yellow paint.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it wasn't too obvious in the last one, Remake Integrate, but in this one you have certain cliff faces where it's very obvious that you have to climb certain sections. And look, I'm not going to complain about yellow paint. It's there. I can deal with it. It's not the end of the world, but yeah, it is just funny that there's people that will be playing this game, see an obvious part that you need to climb, and some people will just be confused. I don't get it, but hey, if people like that, whatever. And by the way, this game does include the whole how should I put it? Accessibility options that they put in Remake Integrate, so you can make this game as easy as you want or as difficult. If you do finish Remake Integrate, so we'll just call that part 1 for now, you get summoning materia. So it's super powerful summon materia, and if you've got Remake Integrate, play the DLC, which it's included, and get that materia. And if you've played the demo for Rebirth, you get some charms and items as well, such as potions, basically stuff you can start the game off with. So you get decent rewards for playing these games and the demo, which I really like. But man, what a good game. Gorgeous game, stunning. The funny thing is, we've talked about this before, Logan. If a game is so pretty in quality mode, I'll just play it. I'll stick on 30 FPS. It doesn't bother me. My eyes adjust after a minute or so. I'm playing Rebirth and I'm confused because the game looks amazing on quality mode, outstanding. I think it's like native 4K. But on performance mode, it still looks great. Don't get me wrong. But I'm actually stuck. I'm going back and forth choosing which one to play as, because like, do you choose native 4K or do you choose a lower resolution, which still looks great? It's 60, because you have fast-paced action gameplay. It plays great. It's super smooth combat. But like, I don't know. I'm torn. But hey, it's a good problem to have because the game is so good. Now we have so many games to talk about. It's actually frightening, because literally I've went over every single game that was announced for Xbox across every showcase. So you can imagine how tired I am. I'm exhausted, but we'll deal with this. Now, let's see what we have to go over first. So, oh, by the way, the Destiny 2 update came out today. Bunch of new features and stuff for people to go through, which affects basically the whole game. Unfortunately, they didn't put in the cut content from Destiny 2, that, the stuff they sunsetted a couple of years ago. So even though this is the final Destiny 2 update, I recommend people, just fire the game up, tell Sony that you want a sequel, because, man, I'm not a Destiny player. I played the first game, but I feel really bad for the Destiny fan base. Just this past month, it's been brutal on them. This is a game they play all the time. And for me, like, you see Marathon getting this, like, huge push from Sony. Like, fun fact, if you go to the Xbox store right now and search Destiny 2, on the store page for Destiny 2, it literally says, download Destiny 2 because, it's free to play, or buy Marathon. Right? And, like, I've never seen the store page do that before, where you can buy another game by the same publisher. Maybe it's been there before and I've just never noticed it. But yeah, the Destiny fan base, they're taking it. It's pretty bad at the minute. There is almost 200,000 people playing concurrently on Steam, which is the highest it has been in 2 years. But look, I do believe that if a lot of people play it over the next week, and this goes to console as well, a lot of Destiny players on console, I think Sony might actually think things back a bit, and maybe do a Destiny 3 at some point. Because I would love to start a new Destiny game from scratch with 100% of the story there. Logan, what's your thoughts on the whole Destiny thing? Because, the final update is out today. It's just been a messy situation.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Destiny is one of those fly and flip games for me.
Yeah.
But I wish it well. I hope the people who really like the game tune in and nut up or shut up. Show up and support it if they really care about it, and we'll see what happens. But for the fans, I hope it works out. But for me, it's like I could care less. Like it's just not my thing at all. But I'm happy that the fans seem to be full throttle for it.
Yeah. I mean, look, if all content was there, the original campaign, the original expansion, bear in mind, I played the first game, I didn't play the DLC, but I loved my experience with that first game. If all that content was there that they sunsetted, I would have actually went and bought the whole collection of DLC right now, because it's I think it's 65% off. So I think you can get all expansions that are currently available for like £20, something like that, which is insane. But like, it's a shame that all the content just isn't there. I honestly believe that if all that content was there, they'd have like millions of more people play the game, especially at that price. But sunsetting content in games, we're both not a fan of that. It's always been a weird tactic, and I understand why they did it for Destiny 2. But yeah. Hopefully Sony pays attention to the people playing, and like there's people that have, like, their lives have changed because of Destiny. There's people that, like, their YouTube channels or their Twitch channels are completely based around Destiny. So to see this, it's sad, but yeah. And look, I know, Logan, you do not like those types of games, like, because live service, always online, basically a multiplayer game. I get it. Just they had such an interesting story in Destiny, and maybe I'm biased because I'm needing more sci-fi in my life. it is a shame that Destiny 2 is kind of going out like that, because I actually subscribe to a few Destiny creators. I think the big one everyone knows is Astacross. Um, a lot of these creators, I don't think they've mentioned the elephant in the room, which I think a lot of people have missed, and it's that Bungie, they focusing on Marathon, and Destiny 2 is not getting any more updates. But the big elephant in the room is that if Bungie goes away, if they if they do what people think Sony's going to do, you're going to have people like panic. You're going to have people lose their jobs. And like, I can't imagine that Sony would keep those servers up for Destiny 1 and 2 forever, because these
Are
games
you
cost.
kidding me? Yeah, they're penny pinching mode right now.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do that.
And like,
Yeah.
these games cost a lot to manage, a lot to keep running, and like, I just can't imagine Sony keeping a. And by the way, Destiny 1 is still available. You can play all of that game's content, but I can't imagine Sony really keeping those two games alive. Destiny 2 doesn't have a huge influx of new players all the time pumping in money into the service. Like, most of the money Destiny makes, as far as I know, are from people that just already play the game. But yeah, just wanted to bring that up because the update is out today, and if you have it installed, play it, send those numbers to Sony, because a lot of people, like, if you opened up the YouTube or Twitch chat, right, for any showcase over this past week, it's just been Destiny 3, Destiny 3, we want Destiny 3, we want D3. So the fan base is out there, they want a new game. It's just, I think these live service games that are around for like 8 years, like, there's always a drop-off point, and this is why I always say that maybe doing live service was a bad idea. Come out with sequels every couple of years. I know I somehow make every topic about Mass Effect. That's my superpower. But like, those were single-player games. You got you got 11 expansions across 3 games. Like, you had 3 games, 11 expansions in 6 years. And I think that if they did that with Destiny, come out with a Destiny 3, put out 2 expansions a year, then put out a Destiny 4 3 years later, I think people would be fine with that. Move away from the live service model. It's played out. And in 2026, most people that do live service, they into battle passes. And I don't think people want to have a battle pass in everything. But hey, that's just my take. Before we get into the other topics, we have a super chat by Nick W. Thank you very much for the $4.99. He says, I'm so excited for Code Veronica Remake. I think a lot of people are.
Me too.
Yeah, one of my all-time favorite games. Also super excited about FF7 Revelations. Look, I've gave Jeff Keighley a lot of flack over the years. A lot. Was some of it harsh? Oh, yeah. Was it all true? Yeah, oh, yeah. But I've said that in the past, his shows have gotten better and better. His Game Awards shows have gotten better and better. And, like, Summer Games Fest, as much as I say that E3 needs to come back, that was his best show ever. So, we will go over every game there as well. But yeah, Code Veronica, man. By the way, I knew that was Code Veronica as soon as that old lady opened the door, because Resident Evil 8 has that exact same lighting model. The blue haze type thing. And like, yeah, that was Resident Evil. Right? And Code Veronica's been rumored for a while. They're also making Resident Evil 0 remake. And myself and Logan are, 2 of the 5 people that played that game. So we're actually going to see remakes of these games. And Capcom, they are killing it. They are easily one of the best developers in the industry. They are somehow making these Resident Evil games in 2 years?
They're putting industry to shame, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like they're kicking butt and taking names. It is incredible the streak they're on.
Yeah. I was talking about this online with Pyro that's in chat, right? So Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy will have all came out in around 6 to 7 years, right?
That's good.
Yeah, you have Capcom coming out, and they coming out with basically a new Resident Evil game every year. alternating between remake and like new numbered title. And all I could think is like, what exactly are these Japanese developers eating or drinking or whatever, right? Because they can make these games some of the most beautiful games in the entire industry in just a couple of years. Like, we will be talking about FF7 Part 3, but the size of that game is absurd. And we'll talk about how big that game is later in the show. But like the fact that they have a Part 3 coming out in 7 years, like I don't know, man. Like, so like, yeah, Resident Evil and Code Veronica, like Capcom, Square Enix, they're on a roll. They really are. Let's see what we've got. My God, we have way too many topics for a show where we're going to be talking about 100 games. Okay, so Logan, I know you might like this one. I think a lot of people in chat will as well. So the Dying Light developer Techland, they've been teasing a new Dying Light related thing for the past, I want to say, 2 months. They've not really said at all what it is. And they kind of just, even though the announcement I think is tomorrow, they just kind of, it had to have been an accident. They kind of just showed it off today. And it looks like Dying Light 2 is getting a third person mode.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that game is parkour like all the way through. And being first person, I think parkour just works better because you can see ledges better and all that stuff. And honestly, I think it's really cool that some of these developers, they're coming out with first person games and they're giving people the option later on because, a game designed from the ground up for first person or third person, they can't be interchangeable all the time. It depends on the engine. It depends on the animation system. And we've seen this a couple of times. We saw this with Avatar. People loved the third-person mode. That game should have been third-person to begin with, but Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is amazing. But yeah, Dying Light, of all franchises, I couldn't have guessed that they would do that. And I saw the animations today. They actually look really good. I think they've actually redone the animations for the entire game. So for a game with parkour, that's a lot. Logan, did you ever get into the Dying Light games?
Yes, I remember the first one a lot. I really enjoyed it when it came out in the early Xbox One era, and really enjoyed it. Love all the Easter eggs in it, and it's nighttime. Good luck, and then everything turns into a roided out freakazoid at night. And just, I really enjoyed the story. I thought it was underrated. Enjoyed all the parkour stuff. I haven't actually gotten to the second one yet
Yeah.
because I kept getting an update after update,
Oh
more
yeah.
content, and I was like, surely it'll stop eventually, and then I'll jump in. But I do plan to play it, and I do own it.
Yeah. I mean, it's still getting updates, and I think it came out in 2022. But hey, Techland, they're another developer that they support their games, and like I maybe I talk about this too much. I will always praise developers that support their single player games for a long time, and they still put out patches for Dying Light 1. And that game came out I think 10 years ago. It might be 11 years ago actually. But yeah, that's crazy. We have another super chat by Pyromad. Thank you very much for the £2. He says all three Final Fantasy. Yeah, he told me this the other day. It blew my mind really. So all three Final Fantasy VII remake trilogy games will have came out between Kingdom Hearts 3 and 4. Like, that is wild. And like
That makes about as much sense as the Kingdom Hearts plot.
Oh yeah. Like, as much as I love Kingdom Hearts 3 and the first Kingdom Hearts, that the plot is like the complexity of the Matrix, Tenet, and maybe, I don't know, Memento all combined, right? Like, you need an encyclopedia of knowledge to understand the plot of Kingdom Hearts. And it's a game about, Final Fantasy characters and, Disney characters.
Lion King.
Yeah, the Lion King's fighting Sephiroth. Why? I don't know, but it's awesome. And that is true. Somehow, it's crazy if you think about it. Like, they have their Final Fantasy studios that can make these games clearly quickly, but Kingdom Hearts, for some reason, takes 3 came out in 2018, and this will be coming out. Which, by the way, it doesn't have a year after the title. So, like, I don't think this game's coming out next year. Even I think this is a 2028 game, and that year sounds way too futuristic. But yeah, thank you for
Do
the
you
two
think this
pounds.
is a console sunset game, like last hurrah for Series X and PS5? Or
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that'll be one of, like the last like swan song titles. You know, even as it is going to be on the Switch too, and these consoles we have now, these consoles are going to be supported for a very long time, like years and years to come. I mean, hell, games are still coming out on last gen. Um, but yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3, crazy. Um, and you know, one of my big complaints is how long games take to develop. Yeah, you have Square Enix with Final Fantasy. These three huge games. These Japanese developers they put in the West to shame. Let's be honest. Uh,
in
Making
more
whole
ways than
trilogies.
one. They've been killing it. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been killing it. And I don't know how they're doing it. So, uh, I really hope at some point someone does a full on documentary on why this phenomenon's happening. Where like, you know, a Western game of like, you know, something that's like a 12-hour game. I'm looking at you, Ubisoft, with the Splinter Cell remake. They clearly can't make a remake of a 12-hour game in what 5 years. Yet Square Enix can make a Final Fantasy 7 Part 3 that's the size of, well, it's going to be basically the size of Crimson Desert when it comes out, in just 3 years. Something's not adding up. um,
Maybe it's all cyberpunky and it's like everybody is actually part machine and optimized, or I don't know. There's something weird going on.
yeah, I something's going on, but hey, I'm just happy that these games are actually, you know, coming out more consistently now. But of all companies, I never would have thought, oh yeah, Square Enix, they the company that's delivering regularly on Xbox now. But yeah,
How the tables turn. Yeah.
yeah, my God. But hey, you love to see it. Now excuse me while my notes keep refreshing. It's so annoying. Okay, here we go. So next up we have oh my God, this is going to be so. Bear in mind, 100 games. By the way, Logan, what was your overall opinion of, let's say, the Sony state of play thing? Because we didn't actually get to go over those games last week.
My overall opinion was they did a good job. Um, it was a good show. I liked I liked the majority of what they showed. It had a good pace. Um, I think the discourse around God of War has been interesting. Um, like I think it looks fun, but it also looks, kind of more of same. Like, if they're trying to make it like this reimagining or like this take it in a whole new big direction with a new protagonist and stuff, it doesn't really fit the bill like that for me.
Yeah,
Like, the idea, like, to me, if you're gonna try a new protagonist and try to take things in a different direction, you would at least change the formula up a bit instead of like, this is um this is God of War, but Kratos ain't there, and this is his wife, and she's somehow resurrected in the netherworld and fighting her way back, even though the whole plot of the first one was like all around like it just it's interesting, but I also understand why people have issues with it. And yes, there are some people who have issues with it because it's a woman protagonist and she looks however she looks, and there's certain things in it, whatever. Like, I know there are some people who don't like it for that reason, but I think the vast majority of the people who don't like it are people who are like, hey, it like Gears of War. It's like Marcus Phoenix is the protagonist, or his son, or his family, or something like this, and then we've shifted, and it feels weird, like when they did, they split up Halo 5 with Locke and Master Chief. That was one of the biggest complaints for Halo 5. It feels like that for this. I reckon they'll figure it out, but my gosh, Santa Monica, get some skin. Like, the the fact they got so triggered by Domino's UK of
Yeah,
all people is hilarious. Like, I'm surprised their admin hasn't been freaking out about all the washing machine memes and the back rub memes and all this other stuff. I'm like, you made these games like highly mature and stuff in the past, and yet now you're mad about that? Like, okay, come on.
yeah. Oh, for people watching live and later, you may have heard a piano thing just now, piano music. Uh, so for some reason, the video game Human Fall Flat, fun game by the way, even more fun with other people. It's a physics-based adventure platforming game. For some reason, that game fires up on my PC by itself, and I don't know why. like, I can't figure out why, but if my PC's been on for at least an hour, it just starts playing Human Fall Flat by itself. So that's
Poltergeist.
yeah, Game and Poltergeist. I don't know why it happens. It just does. So I had to click it off. But yeah, I don't know why it happens. Um, yeah, the Sony Santa Monica thing's funny, and we'll get over literally listing every game in a moment. I think it's funny because Domino's UK, for people that don't know, and Domino's in the UK isn't exactly in the best position. They make no money basically. They put out, a God of War without Kratos is like a pepperoni passion without the pepperoni, right? It's a good tweet, right? And yeah, Sony Santa Monica replied, like, it's just a meme. like, can you imagine if, let's say, Microsoft had to reply to everyone that memed on them? My God, they'd still be doing it off, like, tweets years ago. Um, the God of War thing, I'll talk about quickly. I didn't really have a problem with what I saw. Like, I thought, oh, it looks like a fun game. I don't understand the gelatinous cube. Like, that for me, I was like,
Yeah, Huey washing machine is weird.
yeah. I did see that meme online, by the way, of the washing machine. Like, come on. Now, the actor that plays the cube, I think he's cool. For people that haven't seen the film Novocaine, which he's in, he's basically Max Payne. Really good film, actually. But yeah, I think Sony had a good show, but they had a lot of games there, a lot of which are coming to Xbox. In fact, if I remember correctly, there's, let's see, 13 of these games are coming to Xbox. So first up, Dynasty Warriors 3 Complete Edition Remastered. This game was actually announced already. It's taken a while for them to make, but hey, I'm sure Dynasty Warrior fans are happy with this. Dune Awakening finally gets a release date, and I think a lot of people will be happy with this because they announced it's getting a full-on single-player mode that will be available that day. So for people that don't know, Dune Awakening is an Unreal Engine 5 MMO. Now, MMO scares off a lot of people, including Logan, because you don't really want to be bothered with other people, and there was PvP-centric areas where, hey, maybe you wanted to go out into the deserts of Arrakis and maybe get some, crafting materials, do a story mission. Well, there'd be certain parts of the map where other players could basically wreck you and take your stuff. And basically, a couple of weeks ago, they announced that they're actually going to put PvP in sections as an option. So you can basically opt in or out of the PvP and go to the areas whatever you want, which is really cool. But I did not expect them in a million years to put out a single player mode, because yes, it will have a full on single player campaign with cutscenes and multiple difficulty options, and that kind of blew me away. I think this is the first time I've ever seen an MMO developer actually do this. I could be wrong, but it's the first time I remember. And yeah, that. Oh, by the way, it's launching day one on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. That flew under the radar. So I think a lot of people will be happy with that. We finally have a AAA Dune game. Logan, what's your thoughts? Because I think a lot of people have been waiting for this, and the fact it's going to have a single player campaign, that's brilliant.
Yeah, I'll be honest. The single player game mode takes it from a fly and flip game to a game I'll play. So I'm looking forward to it. It looks really fun. Arrakis. The children yearn for the spice mines. Should
Yeah.
be a good time.
Yeah, the game looks fantastic, and like that developer, they support their games for a long time. I think they still put out patches for Conan Exiles. Um, but man, I think that I would love to see, because a lot of games get pulled from the stores eventually when it comes to MMOs and online stuff. Like, I really hope we get to a point where we see more developers put out single player modes for their MMOs. I think a lot of people would buy into it. Like a good example would be New World Eternum, right? The whole story of that game is basically a single player RPG, and all they had to do was enable a single player mode rather than just wipe it next year. I think it ends in January 2027. So if people have New World Eternum, play it now, get through the entire story, you'll like it. Um, but yeah, Dune Awakening looks fantastic. Yeah, and that's launching day one on Xbox Game Pass this September. Next up, we have Rayman Legends Retold. This is a full-on remake of Rayman Legends, and let me tell you, uh, Legends is a beautiful game. It's what was 2D at the time, hand drawn art. A lot of people loved that game. Incredible musical levels. I never expected them to get actually put out a full 3D game, which is actually kind of mind blowing because we haven't had a Rayman game since 2012, and we're about to have two. By the way, one of the Rayman games that's coming out hasn't actually been announced yet, but it leaked, and that is Rayman Origins Remastered. So we're going to get two Rayman games in probably the next couple of months. Logan, what do you think? Because it has been a long time since we've had a Rayman game, but this looks fantastic.
Yeah, I love Rayman. I remember Rayman Legends on the early Xbox One, and that dragon mission and all the rock music and just a really fun experience. And the fact that this one's gonna be more like 3D is a really interesting twist. Kind of like Meat Boy going 3D, like not as dramatic, but it is a really cool change. And another remaster is good. And by the way, speaking of Rayman, did you see him and Crash and Spyro all interacting on online lately?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Just putting that out there. It seems like the buzz for our old '90s buddies is strong right now.
yeah. I like seeing this kind of competition. You see the platformers all interacting with each other. You see, the Expanse and Exodus teams, talking about each other's games. Like this is what I want to see more of in gaming. Yeah, yeah. The fanboys will always go crazy about certain things, but like we've seen, like games have competition with each other, and they can all acknowledge that they're all going to sell great. And yeah, it's great to see. Uh, by the way, next up we have Boncho the Chef. This is it looks like a prequel. Oh my god, my PC is going nuts. This looks like a prequel to Dave the Diver. Now, this wasn't announced for Xbox just yet, I believe, but it does look like they're going to have a timed thing, much like the first game, because the first game didn't come to Xbox for a while, and they still have expansions coming out for that first game. So I think that it's going to be a timed game. At least it seems that way. But hey, Dave the Diver fans, you're getting more content. Next up, they showed off a gameplay trailer for Tomb Raider: Legacy of Atlantis. Let me tell you, I love Tomb Raider. It's one of my favorite franchises. And they going back to full on action with this game. Dual pistols, dinosaurs. The game looks fantastic. Crystal Dynamics are knocking it out of the park, and I think that if you love I was going to say Resident Evil there. If you love Tomb Raider, since the beginning, like the tone shift between the Survivor trilogy and the previous games is way different. Yeah, they're going back to the more light-hearted nature. There's still going to be serious things in the story, and this game takes place a couple of years after the Survivor games. So like the continuity of all of the games are basically combined into one, which is great. No more complaining online about these separate universes. Hopefully, but yeah, game looks fantastic. Comes out, I believe, February next year, as is every other game next year. Logan, what do you think of that game so far?
I'm stoked. I mean, they've completely nailed the vibe. You know, see that teal tank and the dual pistols and
Yeah,
the T Rex and the acrobatics, like Matrix style stuff, and, parkouring, very actiony. And I think it's perfect that they have found a way to unite the timelines for all the Tomb Raiders, coalesce, and it's like the most recent ones were like her origin story now, and then like this ties into like the original, and then like also darkness and all the other, it's just a good way to make them all work and honor them all without pissing off certain parts of the fan base.
yeah. Funny thing is, Star Trek kind of did this a couple of years ago with Picard, where basically they acknowledged both timelines, the Kelvin timeline and the main timeline, technically both exist. And that kind of made me happy because all these people that argued about Star Trek for 10 years, they did it for nothing. Well, let's be
They
honest.
were both right.
Yeah. And, people can just accept it now, which is great. Although, talking about the state of Star Trek may be a story for another day because, my God in heaven, outside of video games, which is rare, TV and movies of that franchise are cooked. Um, let's see what we got next. Right, so this game's a bit weird, and this game was announced for Xbox around a year ago, and this. Let's see. Sorry. The game's called No Rest for the Wicked. Right, this game's out on PC now. Version 1.0, I believe, is out on PC now. This game's been made by Moon Studios, the team that made uh, Ori and the Blind Forest, right? So you'd think like, oh, they're gonna have their game out on Xbox. It was already announced for Xbox, right? And bear in mind, there's a trailer on the Xbox YouTube channel of this game being announced for Xbox. Anyway, it turns out it's coming out for PlayStation 1.0 on PC and Switch and Xbox at a later date. Now, people wondering what was happening straight away. Is it still coming to Xbox? It turns out it is, but again, just at a later date. People are already blaming the Series S. I think they even blamed the Series S. Now, I'm not a developer. I'm not going to pretend to be a developer, but I'll say this. I don't know if people can still hear me, but my PC's acting up. Uh, can anyone in chat hear me? Logan, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, for some reason, gameplay cut out there. But yeah, so like the Rebirth looks fantastic on the Series S. A lot of games look great on the Series S. And I think that, you have Grand Theft Auto coming out this year, right? Grand Theft Auto 6, it's going to be one of the most graphically intensive games on console. And, people accept that. People are fine with it. But for some reason, some of these games, they just randomly get pulled last minute. And these developers, I honestly think, they use the Series S as a scapegoat. I don't see any logical reason as to why they keep doing this. And, is it lazy development? I don't like calling it lazy development. It seems a bit harsh. But let's be honest, the energy gives off lazy development. Again, Rebirth looks great. Part 3 is ridiculously ambitious from what they showed, which we'll be talking about in a bit. Like, how come they can get that game on Series S, but this indie game can't? Logan, what's your take? Because the Series S has been the scapegoat for such a long time, and I honestly think it comes off as lazy.
Yeah, again with the preface that I'm not a developer at all, but it feels weird that the Series S has been so divisive for some and that it's become a scapegoat. Like this thing is hardly a potato.
Yeah,
It's a good entryway, affordable option for this gen for families. And that's what it is. Like if you want the premium cream of the top, you get Xbox Series X or Switch 2 or PS5 Pro. But like if you just want an ability to get in the door and play the current games that everybody else is playing, but on a budget, the Series S is an awesome choice. And I get that it has some different, you know, stuff that they have to work with, but it doesn't seem world breaking the way some people make it sound to be. At least to me, it doesn't. Again, like Wild Horse Studios got Kingdom Come Deliverance running on an OG Switch.
Yeah.
Okay, like this is more advanced than that. So surely something's got to give. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, you take something like Death Stranding, right? Death Stranding, in my opinion, is one of the best looking games ever made. Like, practically flawless. And I believe on Series S, it has a 1080p 60 mode. It might actually be higher. Like, that game is ridiculously well optimized. And just like this, top-down indie game, they can't get it working properly because of the RAM. No, I refuse to believe that. But hey, that's a story we'll cover again at a later date when we actually have more to go over. But yeah, it just comes off as lazy. Next up, we have Onimusha Way of the Sword. That got a brand new trailer. That's also coming out later this year. Yeah, game looks great. What can I say? Capcom's one of the best in the industry. Really, like they could put out these games multiple times a year. You know, this year's ridiculous for them if you think about it. You know, you have Resident Evil 9, you have Pragmata, you have an expansion for Dragon's Dogma 2, you have that game, and you know they announced another games as well. So that one of the best studios. Let's see. Next up we have Ace Combat 8: Wings of Thave. What a weird name, but it's Ace Combat. It is weird. You have anime style storytelling when it comes to exposition and plot, but about fighter pilots, and it just works. I really like Ace Combat. And by the way, this detail's kind of flown under the radar. So if you pre-order the game, you get access to Ace Combat Zero Remaster. And the reason I want to mention this is because the way they did it with the previous game, you were only able to play that game if you pre-ordered it. So like that was the only way. So you couldn't buy it separately. I've never liked that business tactic, but if you're an Ace Combat fan, you might want to know because Ace Combat Zero, it is a big game. I think a lot of people will like it. And yeah, it's more Ace Combat. Can't really complain. Logan, what do you think? And did you actually like the Ace Combat games? Oh, I think Logan's cut out. Yeah, I think Logan just jumped out and jumped back in. My God, everything's not working today. But yeah, Ace Combat 8. By the way, that game looks absolutely nuts. We got Ace Combat 7 right when the Xbox One X came out. So like that game, I believe, was 4K. It wasn't 60. And you know now they can do all that stuff. You can have super realistic graphics. You know, and yeah, I do think flight sticks do work with the game. I think they did with the previous game. And like as someone that put a lot of time into flight sim, let me tell you, my go-to like vehicle in flight sim is actually the Boeing fighter jet. Right, I've probably flown in that jet for maybe 50 hours. You know,
Man.
yeah. By the way, sometimes I would actually get bored in between, like you know, playing games or putting a film on or something. I think, right, I've got 15 minutes to kill, so I'd literally take off with the Boeing fighter jet in Heathrow Airport and fly across the channel. Like that's all I'd do, and then I'd turn the game off because it's like you know. It's just what I like to do. But yeah, now that we can hear you, Logan, what do you like Ace Combat at all?
Not really. It's not my thing. I'm not the biggest plane guy, but it's cool, I guess.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Ace Combat, super fun game, crazy set pieces. It is kind of niche, you know, flight combat games. But hey, Ace Combat fans should be very happy. And again, you have to pre-order it to get the remaster. Bit of a weird move. I don't like it, but it is what it is. Next up, they showed off Stuntman Hollywood. I was so happy to see this franchise come back because
Same.
we haven't had a Stuntman game since I think Stuntman Ignition, and that was on the 360, and there was one on the PlayStation 2 as well. Yeah, this franchise just went away, and all of the all of the set pieces in those games were kind of loosely based off movies, but they didn't have the rights for any of those movies. Now they've clearly got a they're clearly working with Universal Studios. So there's Back to the Future, there's Death Race, there's Fast and the Furious, Miami Vice, Knight Rider, and they couldn't show this in the trailer, but it is confirmed now. They have the license to use Jurassic Park. So this game's going to be nuts. And for people that don't know, you literally just play it as a stuntman. You get given a kind of a set piece you have to go through a certain way and just perform the stunts because you're a stuntman in the movie. And yet it's a franchise I haven't thought about in such a long time because I just really never thought that would come back. And that is a kind of a niche game, but a bloody good one. By the way, Stuntman Ignition is backwards compatible for people that want to play it. I think that was actually a gold game at some point, so a lot of people might own it without realizing it. Logan, what do you think? Because Stuntman, I think we haven't had a Stuntman game since maybe 2011.
Yeah, it's been a real hot minute since we've had a Stuntman game. I have Ignition. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, like it's kind of funny about the Jurassic Park thing, but I get it because they literally had, Jurassic Park at home shown
Yeah,
off during the show. So my guess is they didn't want those two to quote fight each other in the same presentation, kind of. So, yeah, it sounds awesome that Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, and I bet they're going to get a whole bunch of other 80s and 90s IPs,
oh yeah,
and it is going to be so much fun. I
yeah,
can't wait. I love the energy of that game.
yeah. I mean, considering it is Universal Studios, and they have, like you said, 80s stuff when it comes to TV. I wonder if they have things to use, like the what was that helicopter show in the 80s? Jag or something.
Oh man, I can't remember.
Airwolf. Airwolf.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, like I hope they get like cool things like that because Airwolf's always on TV in the UK for some reason. But yeah, and by the way, Miami Vice is a 80s and synthwave fan. Those levels are going to hit different. And for people that haven't watched Miami Vice, do that immediately after the show. It'll change your life. And for the love of God, can we make suits with the rolled up sleeves a thing again? That should be a thing.
And popped collars.
Yeah, why
Yeah.
not? Just reminds me of that scene from Friends with the flashbacks.
Oh
um,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I can't wait to have this franchise back. They said coming soon, and by the way, this is another Saber Interactive game. Somehow they're making 11 games.
How
like,
many people work there? Like for real?
yeah, and by the way, they had another game announced, which I'll mention now because this wasn't really at a show, but it was during one of the showcases. So Saber Interactive are also making the Hitman Classic Trilogy remaster. I don't know how they worked out that licensing deal, but if you're a fan of the OG Hitman games, yeah, they're getting fully remastered with. I think they're gonna have new and old gameplay. So if you want to play a new style with new controls, it's up to you. The new graphics look great, which is lovely to see. But yeah, Saber Interactive, they're making so many games. They're making that. They're making Jurassic Park Survival. They're making a AAA unannounced Hasbro license game. Hint, hint, it's Transformers. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, John Wick, Space Marine 3, Space Marine 2 content, Two Rock Origins. I don't know how they do it. Don't know how they do it. Oh,
Coder remake.
yeah, and a Hellraiser revival. My God in heaven. But yeah, that Stuntman Ignition looks great. Next up, they showed off a brand new game trailer for Ill, the first-person shooter horror game. A lot of movie talent that made things such as Longlegs and the VHS movies. They're working on this. It's been in development for a very long time. It was originally announced for PC, to the point where, I thought it could never come to console just because of how good it looked. And thankfully, it is coming to console. I will say this, though, as someone that covers upcoming games, I don't know how I'm going to cover that game on the channel. It's the goriest game I've ever seen.
You remember Mortal Kombat did a hilarious parody of fatalities. They were called like
Oh
friendlies
yeah,
or like friend zones, and like they did smiley faces and like I love you and stuff like that. I wonder if they'll do that, like have a mode like that for streamers just to be funny.
yeah. I mean, I really hope they do something. I put it like this: when I covered Mortal Kombat 1 coming to Xbox and upcoming game video, I literally had to edit out from a fight sequence all of the gore and finishes. Like, do you know how hard that is? Like, um, but my God, yeah, it looks great. I mean, look, I'm gonna be all over that. I know you are as well, Logan. Possibly the most disgusting horror game I've ever seen in my entire life. So it's gonna be
Oh, it's
amazing.
pretty nasty, but it's great.
Yeah, it looks great. Uh, and I think that's also coming out in 2027. Next up, they showed off a new trailer for marathon content. Let's just say it was poor timing. Like, by the way, I had the chat open. It was just Destiny 3. Like, everyone was asking for Destiny 3. By the way, I found this out the other day. Do you know IGN's stream of the Sony State of Play? Apparently, IGN allegedly themselves had the term Destiny 3 muted, which is
Interesting.
yeah, which is crazy because Sony, it would make sense for them to do it. They don't want their own chat, to be, overrun by just people asking for Destiny when they're clearly going to be talking about Marathon. But for IGN to do that as well, that's a bit suspicious. Just saying. Next up, they showed off a brand new story trailer for Control. I mean, that game looks great. Control was a brilliant game. This is more action packed. It's actually an action RPG, which is a complete tonal shift when it comes to genre compared to the last game. Next up, they showed off RuneScape Dragonfall. This game was announced for PlayStation and PC. People in my feed were losing it because this game was big on PC when it had its alpha and stuff. And people are like, why isn't this game coming to Xbox? And literally on Twitter, the main account for this game, they literally posted saying, look, we're going to announce the platforms it's coming to the same day as PlayStation at another time. They basically said it's coming to Xbox. So anyway, it turns out that is coming to Xbox as well. And this is, I think this game's going to be pretty big. And by the way, the last game I'll mention for Sony State of Play was a game called The Lost Wild. Now, this game isn't coming to Xbox now, but it originally was announced for Xbox. So this is another game where the original version of this game was announced for Xbox and they've pulled it. Now, they haven't replied to a single person asking about the Xbox version, and this was the dinosaur horror game that was shown there. And yeah, it looks like Sony may have paid for exclusivity of this game. At least it looks that way. Which is a shame because, I think a lot of people would buy into a new horror game that features dinosaurs, especially in a world where, let's face it, we need Dino Crisis. Yeah, Logan, what do you think? Because it is a bit of a shame, considering it was actually announced for Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, it looks awesome. My guess is that it'll come to Xbox in a year after
Yeah.
it hits PlayStation because that's Annapurna's method. That's what they do. Like I remember Kentucky Derby or let's see The Pathless and a whole bunch and like that Fish and Squid or something Blade and Squid
Yeah.
like several games that they've released within the last few years. Almost all of them went to PlayStation first, and then they were
Ah.
there a year or so, and then they eventually found their way to Xbox. To me, this won't be a permanent exclusive, but it is annoying.
Yeah. And, hope.
As it looks great.
Oh yeah,
So.
yeah. The game looked great. Again, dinosaur horror game. There aren't enough of them. Like, what a weird mashup of genres that just don't happen enough. Like, it's such an obvious thing. But yeah, that's State of Play. I honestly thought it was a decent show. Can't complain. They opened up with Wolverine. I will say this: Wolverine looked cool.
That he does.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, now we're going. Oh, by the way, before we get into all the Summer Games Fest stuff, because again, 100 games announced for Xbox. we only like 10% through. Um, excuse me. Now, we've been alive for about an hour. If you're enjoying the show, please hit like, share, and subscribe. Again, we're going to be talking about all the exclusive stuff because that is a huge topic later in the show. We're going to have, like 90 more games to talk about, I think. So if you're enjoying the show, again, like and subscribe. The likes do help with the algorithm. I hate doing these little ads, but it does help. And also, subscribing to the channel helps us grow and all this stuff. And the podcast grow. And, support. If you want to support the channel with super chats, it's greatly appreciated. It all gets put back into the channel. Anyway, now Summer Games Fest is basically our E3 replacement, unfortunately. However, Jeff Keighley delivered on the goods this year. We've been very harsh on him in the past, and let's be honest, I'm going to be harsh again. But I'll admit, he did a great job. Logan, what did you think of the overall show before we get into the long list of games?
I think this was one of the best ones he's done. It was really good, and he learned his lesson from last year of ending with
A live service.
"What are you doing?" title.
Yeah.
So yeah, great show. The pacing was good. Most of the announcements are things I'd be interested in. And yeah, there was thankfully a lack of Muppets and some other stuff.
Yep.
So it was good.
Yeah, it wasn't ad heavy. The pacing was good. Pacing for me is a big thing. You could have amazing games for 2 hours, but if you have people just talking on stage for ages, I'm going to fall asleep. But yeah, great pacing. No ads, like you said. Minimal on the puppet thing. I don't understand the puppet thing with Jeff Keighley. I think he's Canadian. Maybe it's a Canadian thing. I don't know. But
maybe he grew up with him and likes him. If so, cool.
Maybe, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, he put on a great show. And, before the show went live, he said, yes, we will have a one more thing, and it's not a live service game. That's all we ask for, Jeff. Like, let's be honest. I might get hate for this. I think live service games have played out, right? People that only play Fortnite, they're going to stick with Fortnite. Same with Warzone, same with all these other live service games. I don't need to see more live service games. I just don't. Right? I play Warzone with my best friend. Do you think I want to play a game that looks like Warzone? No, I've got Warzone. I'm not moving to something else. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm sick of black hole games. They just suck up all life and light around them and destroy everything. They're just an endless void.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so Jeff Keighley is from, the far off land of Canada. Don't know why they didn't just go with Canada. Sounds more mystical. But yeah.
It does.
Now, when it comes to this huge list of games, I'm actually kind of impressed. There was a bunch of indie games in this show, but I'd say way less than normal. So anyway, I'll go through the whole list. So Resident Evil Code Veronica Remake, or now called Resident Evil Veronica. That game looks fantastic. It's going to be great. My objective is to get through Resident Evil 7, 8, 4 Remake, and 9 by the time that game comes out. May God have mercy on my soul, because I am a scaredy cat. My God. But I'm trying. Give me a break. But yeah, that game looks fantastic. I think a lot of people are going to have fun with it. Arguably some of the best graphics I've ever seen in a game. Logan, what do you think of that? Because, we mentioned this briefly in the show, but Code Veronica, that probably had the biggest pop of the night, really.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been waiting for this for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad to see Code Veronica back. Just chef's kiss on the just total aesthetics, the remake vibes, talk about a glow up on everything. I can't wait for it. And yeah, I even saw memes about it. Like, can't wait to see Chris Redfield's fishing picture and all the other stuff that's randomly in that game. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, that game's gonna pop off. Next up, we have Mighty Cuphead Adventure. So they actually confirmed Cuphead 2 while they were talking about this game, and this is a fast-paced 16-bit game, or 8-bit, whatever. Yeah, it looks super cool. I don't think that had a release date, but hey, it's good to see that they're actually still making Cuphead games. Cuphead was very difficult, but very fun at the same time. And that game is the one that showed us that a pigeon can actually outsmart a game journalist. And for people that don't know what I'm talking about, there was a game journalist in, I think, 2018 or 19 when that game came out, where he tried to do the tutorial, he could not do it, and someone compared it with a pigeon, basically doing this physics puzzle in real life, and the pigeon solved the physics puzzle before he could get through the tutorial. It's pretty embarrassing. But I guess some game journalists they aren't used to picking up a controller. Anyway, next up we have, I messaged Logan straight away after this one, Alien Isolation 2. This game was announced 2 years ago, and they've been silent ever since. And my God in heaven, this game looks good. This game takes place on a planet that has never been in the Alien franchise before. It's set in basically an abandoned colony on one of the planets, where they're doing the whole, repurposing and all that stuff. But anyway, you're playing as a new character. That's the big surprise for me. I thought they would go with, the same character again. But no, new character, new setting. Obviously the same gameplay that we've seen in the past, probably with more stuff. They hinted at the flamethrower. Logan, I know you must have lost your marbles because we talk about Alien Isolation all the time. And it's been, 12 years? Or 11 years since the last one? This game's a big deal.
I am so happy that it survived IGN's 5.7 or 5.9. I don't remember. It was infamous. And all this other dumb stuff around the game. The game was incredible. Still to this day, the smartest enemy AI I've ever encountered in a game. Absolutely horrifying. Especially if you play it in VR or with a Kinect back in the day, because it would hear the sounds, breathing, chips, whatever was going on. It would hunt you down mercilessly. Love that game. Can't wait for this. Being able to go outside is liberating and feels great, but also, oh my gosh, this means even more places it could pop up and tear me apart from. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm a bit surprised they went away from Amanda Ripley, to be honest, but we shall see, and I fully trust them. Let Sega cook. They've been doing good.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, the game takes place in a Weyland-Yutani station or colony, where they've clearly been overrun. The move away from Amanda is weird because of the way the first game ends. You kind of just think. Although I would be shocked that if she is, I bet she's in the game somehow.
Yeah, I bet she shows up, or maybe she's a quote second character type thing. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, and like you said, best enemy AI ever. Whenever people talk about next gen and all like these, new pieces of technology, I just want better enemy AI. More characters on screen, more destruction. Alien Isolation, back when that came out, like that was mind blowing. The enemy AI at the time, like if you used a certain tactic to scare away the xenomorph, it would like figure out how often you've done this and try a different route, or like I would use the flamethrower a lot, and if you burnt it too many times, it would learn the way you've done it, and it would like sort of like flank you, which is just such a cool thing. But yeah, I assume that's going to come out next year. I honestly, I think it would have came out this year if it wasn't for Grand Theft Auto. Because scary Grand Theft Auto makes all games come out at different release dates. Anyway,
not everybody's scared of it.
Yeah, well, we'll be talking about that in a minute. Because,
okay, good. I want to talk about that.
You know what? We'll talk about the Godzilla thing now, because that game wasn't announced at the show itself, but it was announced during the show. So for people that don't know, I knew Logan lost his mind when this happened, because on the GameCube there was a little game called Godzilla Destroy All Monsters, and I'd have to say it was maybe one of the best GameCube games. Everyone that I've ever known that had a GameCube had that game. And it was a destruction game. You can fight other characters other kaiju, and it was fun. Anyway, we haven't had a Godzilla game in so long. And yeah, there was that one on PlayStation 4, but like, we haven't had a proper Godzilla game in so long, especially in a year where you have two new Godzilla films coming out this year, right? Um, so like it should be a big year for Godzilla. Well, anyway, they announced Godzilla Destroy All Monsters remastered, but it's actually a remake. They remade all the assets, the gorgeous new graphics. The destruction looks a lot better and all that stuff. I believe there's more content in this version as well. And they
Yeah.
decided to release the game right before GTA in November. So, as someone that covers upcoming video games, and I have a database of like every release date for all these games, let me tell you, November's barren. um, I figure a way to cover games out that month, but yeah, so far we have like 3 games. The third game got announced, I believe yesterday. I think it's called Barbie Rewind. Like, okay,
Yeah, let's come on, Barbie, let's go party. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
it's gonna be Barbie, Godzilla, and GTA 6 in November. That is our lineup.
yeah. And it's just so funny. Like the memes have been hilarious. Like of all companies that have the goal to go up against Grand Theft Auto, you have a Godzilla remaster. Now, Logan, I know you'll be hyped about this game. I think you've mentioned it a dozen or so times on Twitter. What do you think of the game and the November release date?
Oh, I am so pumped and jacked about this one. Like, this game came out on the GameCube and the OG Xbox. It was like high on my personal wish list for BC.
Yeah,
But the fact that Atari and Pipeworks have gone back to the drawing board and are remaking it fully and adding, a new campaign for all the characters and destructible environment stuff and a whole bunch of, I think they might even add some characters.
yeah,
It's going to be incredible. Like, this was a dream come true game for me, and I'm a huge Godzilla guy, so this was euphoric. I'm so happy about this, and it is absolutely so on brand that Godzilla is the one game that has the balls to go up against GTA. It just fits the character and the brand so much. And know what's hilarious is there's actually a historical precedent for this. Did you know the time when it originally launched on the GameCube and Xbox, GTA also had a game released during that month. And so they have gone band for band for aeons at this point. And it's just great.
yeah. That came out when Vice City came out.
Hmm.
Crazy. Um, I think it's just really cool. Like you just have this smaller remaster combating GTA, and everyone's memeing like Grand Theft Auto is done like, as a franchise because of this. Like, and it it will be funny if GTA gets delayed again because that'll just make them.
Cowards.
Yeah, that'll just make the meme way better. Like Godzilla really made GTA move. Like, uh, I know people won't want to hear this, but I hope it gets delayed just for the laughs, just so I can laugh. That'll be hilarious. But yeah, that's coming out in November. Next
They're
up,
trying to make Barbzilla a thing, just
yeah,
like Barbenheimer was,
yeah,
because Atari is doing both the Godzilla and the Barbie game. So it's just great. I love it.
yeah. I'm all for the memes. Next up, they showed off Gen Atlas. Now, this game was announced a couple of years ago at the Game Awards, and it was called Project Robot at the time. It's made by the creator of Shadow of Colossus. And that game was phenomenal. Love that game. Well, yeah, this looks like Shadow of Colossus, but with mechs. And let me tell you, I'm sold. I love the idea. um, I think Shadow of Colossus is probably one of the most. It's one of the best games of all time. But I feel like we didn't really have like anything that came afterwards that was inspired by it.
I think
Um,
the scale of that
yeah,
game and like the audacity of it, like the idea of you're just some dude like riding around on your horse, the Wanderer, and then you literally fight these colossus-sized monsters that you scale up, and then you and your little sword are slaying like gods and stuff on Earth, and it was just crazy.
Yeah. And by the way, I just realized the time, and I still have about 50 games to get through. So I'll try and keep this quick, but mention each one briefly if I can. So, Blood Message. This is a new game by the developer that brought out. Uh, I keep messing up this game's name because I don't think I can pronounce it properly, but Blade Point, right? I'll just call it Blade Point. Naraka Blade Point. Same developer, but this is their first AAA single player action adventure. It looks incredible. What's funny is they haven't actually really talked about platforms yet. And I think part of the reason is I don't think it's a current gen game. There's so much going on in that. Not just like graphically, just with the amount of characters and the environment and stuff. Like I look at that game, to me that screams next gen launch title. But hey, the game looks fantastic. Chinese developers are just knocking it out of the park. Like, by the way, what the hell are Chinese developers eating? These games they're showing off are incredible looking. Like, they're doing some good work. But yeah, that game looks great. Next up, they showed off a trailer for Stranger Than Heaven. That's coming out in, let's see, January. They showed off 2 packs in the game. I personally don't know how people feel about bringing back someone from the dead for a video game. You know, we see in movies people don't like that this is a thing. So, like, are we okay with this in video games? Personally, I don't really have much of an issue with it. I just think it's a bit weird. You know, I'm still looking forward to playing it. You know, it's one of my most anticipated games next year, but I was thrown off a bit. But I'm sure the game's going to be great. And that, yeah, that's also launching day one on Game Pass. Next up, we have, I think there's a Dead by Daylight expansion. Okay, like whatever. Next up, Sand. This is a online multiplayer shared world game. Looks fantastic. It was actually announced for Xbox about a year ago, I think. But they're actually getting closer to release. Next up, they showed off a brand new gameplay trailer for Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. Let me tell you, that game is going to pop off because AC4, in my opinion, is probably one of the best Assassin's Creed games. Top 3 easy. And this has everything people wanted in the original. Fixed, added features, gorgeous game. And, you know, the developers have listened to all these, all combat. It's not all combat, all feedback. I'm all over the place today. Let's see what we've got next. Okay, they showed off the new Fortnite stuff. I don't think anyone cares about that. Next up, they showed Gundam Rogue Orbit. This is a brand new mech combat game, obviously set in the Gundam universe. I was so excited to see this because Gundam games on Xbox, I think we have maybe 3. This is clearly the biggest budget one to date. You fight huge mechs, you fight other Gundams, you fight creatures. It looks incredible. I think if people like, you know, I was going to say Ace Combat, but even if you like things like Ace Combat and, you know, Mech Assault, that type thing, Armored Core, this is going to be for everyone. Next up, they showed Crossfire. By the way, this game was a pleasant surprise because it's made by a brand new studio called That's No Moon. This is their first title, and it's a quote-unquote military narrative-driven single-player action-adventure game with a dynamic cover. So the character that you play as will actually change their stance depending on the height of the cover you're behind, which I love. So you actually have to play stealthy in a you know, a wild environment, and it's super cool. You know, one of my biggest complaints when it comes to, like, you know, animations and stuff is that all cover in most games works the same, right? You're either standing, walking, running, or in cover, right? Or dynamic cover where you stand behind an object and you crouch. That's it. Right, this game is doing something different, which I love, and Geese kind of does something which we'll be talking about. But hey, this game looks fantastic. I was surprised to see that it takes place in the Crossfire universe, which is owned by, I think, Tencent. But the game looked great, and it's a single-player action-adventure. Logan, I guess you'll be all over that.
Yeah, I'm 100% for this one. Like Crossfire, I know X was not exactly well received on Xbox, but I'm looking forward to this and a single player story, and I like the idea of like opposing factions. It's like, well, we got to work together to get out of this alive. And I don't know. There's something timeless about that kind of idea,
Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to it. It looks really well done.
yeah. Next up, we got a brand new teaser trailer for The Last Ronin. This is a new version of The Last Ronin that was first announced by THQ Nordic 2 years ago. But this game is now being developed by Platinum Games and published by Paramount Game Studios. Now, no platforms at all have been announced so far, but the original version, which they've gotten the rights from, they were making an Xbox version. So I'm just going to assume that it's coming to Xbox. A lot of Platinum stuff does, especially by third party studios. Next up, we have Clutch, which is a brand new racing game made by former Playground Games developers. This game looks absolutely nuts. I think if you like things like Forza Horizon and Need for Speed, honestly, we haven't had a good Need for Speed game in a long time, and it looks like this is going to be the closest to Need for Speed. I think people will really like it. Gorgeous game. Next up, they showed Star Wars Galactic Racer. They showed the campaign. So for people that don't know, this game features a full-on single-player campaign, narrative-driven campaign. It looks absolutely nuts. Sebulba is in the game, and they basically confirmed pods. Because when the game was first announced, they didn't show any pods. There were just different kinds of races, speed, what do you call them? Speeders and stuff, and speeder bikes. That was it. And they confirmed, like, pod racing obviously exists, but they showed off pod racing, and they showed off the Tatooine map, which is really cool. Logan, I'm guessing you're going to be all over that.
Oh, 100%. And the fact that it's made by former Burnout devs, day one, baby.
Yeah. Next up, they showed End of Abyss. That game looks cool. That's a if that's a game, I think it is. That's a first-person shooter. Mafia the Old Country is actually getting an expansion. Honestly, I didn't see that happening because Mafia the Old Country is great. Don't get me wrong. But, like, it didn't really set the world on fire when it came to sales, but the fact that they're still supporting it with features and a single-player story expansion that's a prequel, I'm going to be all over that. That game looks fantastic. Next up, they showed off Star Wars Zero Company. Now, this game was announced a year ago, and they just went quiet, never mentioned it since, and it comes out in August. The game looks fantastic. This game takes place during the Clone Wars era, so you actually have, other Republic troopers in the game, and they confirmed that Anakin Skywalker is a character in the game. And as far as I know, this game takes place, I think, a year before Revenge of the Sith. But anyway, if you're a Clone Wars fan, you're going to be all over this game. Now, XCOM style games can be considered kind of niche. Before we continue, we have another super chat by Pyro Mad for £2. He says, Burnout, a galaxy far, far away. Yeah, so thanks for the reminder, Pyro, and thanks for the £2. So the game is being made by former Burnout devs, and you can see that when you watch the trailer. The destruction, just the slow-mo camera, how it pans around when a vehicle is being destroyed. It is Burnout, and unfortunately, we aren't going to get an official Burnout game anytime soon, or if not ever. This is basically a Burnout game. It just happens to be Star Wars, and I think a lot of people are going to love that. Logan, did you ever play the Burnout games?
Yes, I adore them. They are so much fun. Pedal to the metal destruction, rewind, like frenetic speed. So much fun. And I wish we'd get more. And like, I love Star Wars. I love Burnout. So this is a perfect game for me.
Yeah. And by the way, since we're talking about Star Wars, what did you think of that?
Tactics or
The tactical
the
game.
racer? Oh, yeah, the tactics game looks awesome. I love XCOM games, and especially XCOM 2. Just
Yeah.
awesome game. And, Clone Wars, I feel like, is an era that they can explore a little bit more in games in particular. So I like the idea of like they're almost to Revenge of the Sith,
Yeah.
but not quite. Leave some wiggle room for some stuff. And yeah, the gameplay looks good. Anakin being, character in it, all this other stuff. Also introducing some new folks. It's good. Like Star Wars, I'm in.
Yeah.
So XCOM, I'm in. Both perfect. So it's a good year for Star Wars. And where is my Jedi Survivor 3 announcement? I'm
Yeah.
still waiting on that.
Honestly, I thought that was going to be the one more thing.
I did too.
And, it was rumored to be announced this year and then come out early next year. My God in heaven, announced the bloody game already. Like, bloody hell. Um, okay, next up, we got a brand new trailer for the Wuthering Waves Cyberpunk Edge Runners expansion. Uh, so it looks like they've basically got all of Night City in the game. Like this expansion is huge, and that's coming to Xbox in July. But yeah, that game looks fantastic. Next up, Monster Hunter Wild's got a brand new expansion, or is getting a brand new expansion. And their expansions tend to be game size. That's how it was with the previous Monster Hunter games. So yeah, I think a lot of people are going to have fun with that. Next up, you have Swords of Legend. This is a third-person action-adventure game with fast-paced sword combat. Looks fantastic. Attack on Titan 3, the game. So the previous Attack on Titan games were kind of lower in budget. This game looks like they've gone a bit higher with the budget, with the amount of characters and just insaneness that's happening on screen. I haven't watched Attack on Titan in a very long time, but I'm sure fans are really pumped. 007 First Light is getting a 1 year of content, including a single player expansion, which is great. It's getting a photo mode, which many of us have been asking for. Added features and more gadgets and stuff, which is nice. Next up, we got they announced a brand new contract for Hitman. That game's always getting new content. Palworld 1.0 is coming out in July. So final game or full game coming out next month. More polish, more features, and all that stuff. And I think that game is still in Game Pass. But yeah, 1.0 looks great. Next up, we got The Wolf Among Us 2. A lot of people have been waiting a long time for this game. A long time. And it looks fantastic. They're also coming out with a remaster of the first game later this year. And for people that have never played The Wolf Among Us, my God, please do. That story is incredible. Next up,
that cliffhanger. Oh my gosh. Still haunts me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everyone's going to love that game. Next up, now this game didn't really get a confirmation of any platform, and that's Stellar Blade Blood Rain. We'll briefly talk about Stellar Blade in a bit, but honestly, the developers have talked about how they want this game to be multi-platform from day one. I do think this game will be on everything. Combat looks fantastic. People online are obviously arguing about something when it comes to the Stellar Blade games, but the combat looks great. By the way, with the first frame when it showed you the Cyberpunk train station, I thought it was Ghost in the Shell. It looked very Ghost in the Shell.
That would have been so sick.
Yeah, and hell, if any developer wants to make a AAA Ghost in the Shell game, please do. I absolutely adore Ghost in the Shell. It's my favorite anime movie. But yeah, Stellar Blade looks great. Fast-paced melee combat. I 100% think that's going to come. And they said they're still making the game. It's still a while off. In fact, that might be a next-gen launch game. It's that far out. Next up, we have Street Fighter 6 is getting new DLC characters, including Tifa, which is nice. Let's see. This game was announced during the during Summer Games Fest, but not at the show, and that is Thief the Dark Project Remastered. This is a remaster by Night Dive Studios. They do the best remasters. So I think a lot of people will like this game. And plus, it's a stealth game. And they ended off the show with Final Fantasy VII Revelation. Now, before we get into the rest of the games, I'm not going to lie, I kind of looked away from most of the trailer because I'm still playing Rebirth. Right? I was kind of looking through my fingers like it was a horror film because I didn't want anything spoiled. But yeah, this game is huge. So, for instance, if people don't know, Remake Integrate was a very linear game. It was a hub world game, which is my favorite kind of game design. The sequel is basically a big open world game with multiple big regions. They've confirmed that this game is not only bigger than Rebirth, it contains most of the areas from Rebirth, right? So big game already, even bigger with the previous game's open world content, and it's also going to include Midgar as a open world city to play in. So I don't know how these developers are doing it, right? And the game, well, Rebirth on Xbox is currently, I think, 170 gigabytes. So how big is this game going to be? In fact, the game's so big and so open that you can fly around in the high ring whenever you want from basically the start of the game. And the game map is so big that if you fly to one end of the map, which is one side of the planet, you'll actually appear from the other side of the map, which is the opposite side of the planet. So yeah, huge landmass in the game, huge, basically the biggest open world Final Fantasy game to date. I don't know how they've done it, and yeah, just bold, ambitious game. They've improved the graphical quality again. Bravo, Square, bravo. Logan, what do you think? Because I think that game surprised a lot of people.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be incredible. I mean, let Square cook. Like, I fully trust them. They're doing great work with the trilogy. This one's gonna be even bigger and badder than the other two, and they've been incredible. It'll be wonderful to see the wrap up of the Final Fantasy VII narrative and story.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see where they, make some changes in this one or not. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it, 100%.
Yeah. And you know what? Considering we still have all the Xbox stuff to quickly go over, I'm going to go over all the future game show stuff super quick. So if people are interested in what we're showing for Xbox, just bear with me. So Arizona Sunshine is coming to Xbox. This is a flat screen remake of one of the most beloved VR titles. It's now a third person shooter, which is super nice. And by the way, developers, if you want to make VR games and have them succeed, you need to do regular versions at the same time.
100%.
Yeah, like VR is super niche, and unfortunately, in this cycle where there aren't enough VR headsets for AAA developers to support them, and there's not enough people buying VR headsets because there's not enough AAA content. So it's like a snake eating its own tail, you know? And yeah, developers just bring out the games to everything day one. Now, next up we have, Little Nightmares 3 is getting a bigger expansion. Star Trek Shadow Frontier. I'd like to thank the developers for specifically making this game for me, because I've complained about the lack of Star Trek games, and we finally have a new one, and it looks great. This is being made by Bloober Team, and it's also a horror game. Bloody lovely. So someone's been listening. Halloween game is also going to launch with a single-player campaign. Finally, I am sick of these 3v1 horror multiplayer games. Stop it.
I know, like, it might be okay, sorry, go ahead.
No. I'm just ranting. Just go.
Oh, I was agreeing with you. I was like, just like the MMO or live service is an auto tune off for me, like for a game. If I see an awesome horror franchise that I love and then they immediately say it's a 3v1, it's like,
Yeah.
guillotines that game's interest to me personally.
Yeah. By the way, this wasn't on the show, but I have heard that allegedly there's a new Scream game in development, and it's a
Now
4v1.
that would be really, really interesting, especially considering how it's, a whodunit, and a big plot point of all the Screams is figuring out who Scream is in that one. So that'll be really interesting.
Well, this is the part you'll like a lot. That it's rumored to be a 4v1 horror game.
Oh.
Yeah.
At least it's not 3v1. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll give
Oh
it that.
god. Like you said, that genre really turns me off, man. Like I don't get
Like
excited about
Predator and
yeah. There was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, I think 2 years ago. That's a 3v1 horror game. Like, stop it. Like, enough is enough, right? I might mention this on social media later because my god, it's just so annoying. But hey, it's getting a single player campaign where you're gonna play as the big guy. It'll be great. Let's see. I'm trying to run through this list as long as possible or short as possible. Realm of Ink. This is a cool looking indie game. Duskfade. Duskfade looked fantastic. This is a game that's basically got combat that's inspired from Kingdom Hearts. So that game looks good. I think that's coming out in August as well. Next up, we have Defender of the Crown. This is a remaster, or well, a remake of a game from like the 90s where you control armies and you play as a king. Looks super cool. Next up, we have American Holdfast Resolution. That game looks good. Next up, we have Bioden, which is a game where you basically manage a society of people that live in a dorm. Cool. Next up, we have The Sinking City 2. That got a brand new gameplay trailer. Arguably one of the best looking games I've ever seen. Gorgeous game. Next up, Vampire Survivors is getting a brand new DLC. The Altars is getting a brand new expansion, and this is meant to be a very big expansion. Animo got a brand new gameplay trailer. This is kind of like a Pokemon style game. Let's see. Oh yeah, Cassette Beasts 2002. That game's going to pop off when it comes out. I think a lot of people like that, and the people that like, Pokemon monster hunting style games, or well, monster catching games, we'll call them. Next up, they showed off The Lift. That looks like a horror game. My Cannibal Family. That game looks super fun, actually. Mistfall Hunter, which is a fantasy-based extraction game set in a shared world. I know everything I just said there just made Logan's eyes roll.
I'm not gonna lie, it kind of did.
Yeah. Let's see what we've got next. Okay, Hellraiser Revival got a brand new gameplay trailer. That looks good. The Road of Dust and Sorrow also looks good. Let's see. Oh, The Expanse of Cyrus Reborn got a brand new extended gameplay demo. It's like 5 minutes long. It's on the official YouTube channel for the developer. Yeah, that game looks great. And they showed off 19 minutes of Exodus. This is a brand new game by former BioWare developers. Former BioWare developers that worked on Mass Effect, making this game. And my God, this game looks like a Mass Effect fan's dream, because it features everything you like about Mass Effect, but it's got advanced traversal. You've got this grappling hook in the game. The combat looks fantastic. You can pause mid-combat to send your squad mates to do different things, and it's Mass Effect. Let's be honest. And I'm gonna shill that game so hard. It's gonna be unreal. It's gonna be nice. Let's see what we've got next. Okay, so yeah, that was Future Game Show. I thought it was decent. There wasn't too many big ones there. Now I'll quickly go over Nintendo Direct, which happened a couple of hours ago, because yeah, Exodus, arguably the best looking game there. If you're a Mass Effect fan, that's definitely a game to keep your eyes on. And yeah, the Expanse game is launching day one in Game Pass next year. So big news. Now the Nintendo Direct, they had a bunch of cool games there, a lot of which are coming to Xbox. So first up, they announced Dragon's Dogma 2 Dark Arisen. This is a new version of Dragon's Dogma 2. It's also going to be as an expansion for people that already own the game. And by the way, as of today, Dragon's Dogma 2 has a permanent price drop. I think it's like, I'll have to check, I think it's like $45. So you're getting a big game, and the ability to get this expansion later in the year where it's going to have a whole new snow region, quality of life improvements across the board, new enemies, and you're going to be able to have 3 pawn characters with you at any given time, which is really cool. Currently, you can only have 2. And apparently, they're going to rework how Dragon's Plague works in the game. That is the only mechanic I didn't like, so if they're redoing that, lovely. Next up, they showed off a brand new Atelier Carriena game. So Atelier games have been on and off for Xbox for a while. Some get announced for Xbox, some don't. This looks like the next big one by the developer. That's coming to Xbox the same day as other platforms. They showed off Kingdom Hearts series Xbox ports. So we have all the Kingdom Hearts games on Xbox so far. It looks like they're getting native Xbox series versions, so 4K, 60, all that jazz, which would be nice, because I think those games, or at least the old ones, were still 30 FPS. So it looks like these will be 4K 60 as well. Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be 4K 60 across the board. And yeah, this is all going to appear as one big collection, which is nice. Next up, we have, oh yeah, Kingdom Hearts 4. They ended the show with Kingdom Hearts 4, the game they've been making for a million years. They showed off a bunch of combat. The combat looks great. And then they finally showed off Final Fantasy Resonance. This is a 2D HD remake of the first game where you could actually call upon characters from other Final Fantasy games where they'll appear in game as their cutscene characters and help you in battle. My God in heaven, this game looks amazing. And I don't think I've ever played the first Final Fantasy game. So for me, this game looks fantastic. Again, it's launching on Xbox the same day as other platforms. Logan, what do you think of this game? Personally, I'm a fan of the whole HD 2D look. So I think it looks great.
Yeah, I'm super stoked for this one. Like, this is for sure one I'll get. I love Final Fantasy, both old and present, and the fact that you can, call upon other characters from throughout the various games in the series is really fun. And I love the art style, and it's a play anywhere title as well.
Yeah.
Perfect for the Xbox Ally X.
And that was Nintendo's games. So, hey, good show. A lot of stuff coming to Xbox. Now, finally, we went to the Xbox show because I have 28 pieces of content here, most of it's games. And yeah, by the way, before we get into the list, I think Xbox put on a great show. The pacing was great. The amount of content there was great. I gave the show a 9. Sorry, I gave the show a 9.5 before, and yeah, I'm sticking with that. I think the show was a 9.5. It was bloody good. Logan, before we get into the list of games, what was your thought of the show and the final score?
My thought was it was one of the best ones they've had in a very, very long time.
Yep.
It's not the best one they've ever had, but considering the circumstances and like the tenor and the vibe and kind of like just the state of Xbox and the community and recent years and transition periods and stuff, like all things considered, I would say it might have been one of the most important ones that they've also had.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think they did a really, really good job, all things considered.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, before I get into all the Xbox stuff, I want to talk about Stellar Blade quickly because I've been asked about this and we've been talking about this on Twitter. So Stellar Blade was announced for Switch during the Nintendo Direct, and obviously people did what they normally do, and I did this as well. So I'm guilty as charged. I went to the official Stellar Blade Twitter to see if they announced the Xbox version, and as of now, what it's been like 6 or 7 hours. Um, I'm not doing the 6-7 meme. Still no Xbox version announced. And my theory is it's the same thing as Final Fantasy, where they're either going to wait for a different event, such as Gamescom, or they're just going to randomly announce it on Twitter in a week. So while I do think it's coming, excuse me, I do think Stellar Blade is coming to Xbox the same time as the Switch 2. I just think they can't announce it yet. Nintendo makes big deals when it comes to their announcements and third party stuff. So like, it is disappointing that they can't show the Xbox version yet or even talk about it. But yeah, I 1000% think Stellar Blade's happening. Logan, what do you think? Because before we get into the Xbox list of games, the Stellar Blade topic was a thing today.
Yeah, it's continuing to be a thing. In fact, it's gotten to be such a thing that they made a new tweet for their Switch announcement because they had been bombarded with the Xbox homies all asking where in the flying flip is this game? Like, where is it? Like, what is your deal? Like, did you take a bag or did Sony just make it where you can't bring this game over? What's the deal? Clearly, people want this game on the platform, and we're happy for the Switch folks. They get to play it too. I'm not going to take anything away from them at all. Happy for them. But, if you're saying you want to go multi platform for your games, then there is a very vocal and sizable community who want to play this game. So yeah, just I thought that was hilarious. And to me, I'm not 1,000% convinced it's coming. I think it will, but to me, Sony is petty enough and shrewd enough legally with their contract stuff and loopholes and stuff like that to where I could see a world where it just doesn't. And
Yeah.
the second one or spin-offs or stuff could maybe come to the platform or stuff, but I could see a world where Sony might have made a contract to where it's like, we publish this one, it can go to anything but Xbox or, something like that. Maybe there's a way to work around that, like maybe you do a 1.5 version of the game with like an extra expansion or DLC or something, and then release it on Xbox so it's technically not the same thing. I don't know, but yeah, it's very odd.
Yeah. I mean, if they need to do a separate version to launch it on Xbox, here's what they should do, and this is for free. Shift up, and when I say free, I mean give me a copy. Me and Logan, and maybe a couple to give away on the channel as payment. Put a Cortana skin in the game.
Oh my gosh, you know how many Xbox fans would buy that day one, 100%, no questions asked.
Yeah, I may have just solved world peace.
I mean, you might have solved cancer at this point.
Yeah. Uh, like there's an option. I mean, look, I saw people today asking that they need to do a Samus outfit, but for the Nintendo version. Why not?
That seems perfect too.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it'll happen. Anyway, and by the way, I have seen different things online regarding its publishing. So I have seen today that apparently Sony Interactive is listed as the publisher for Switch 2 version, but I've also seen people talk about, I've seen in chat, apparently they self-publishing the sequel. So I don't know the whole situation. We'll talk about it next week's episode. I'll try and do some digging in regarding who's publishing the thing. But we have seen Sony publish games on Xbox. You've seen the whole situation with things like Death Stranding, where that was published by 505 Games, but Sony is mentioned literally when you start the game up. Hellblade 2, sorry, not Hellblade 2, Helldivers 2, that was published by Sony. Same with Marathon and the baseball game. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk about it next week. Let's see. Okay, we're going to get into all the Xbox stuff now. Considering we still have the exclusive thing, I'm going to talk about the list of games quickly, and then we'll talk about the exclusive thing. So, first up, they showed off Gears of War E-Day. I'm putting it out there. This may be the best looking game I've ever seen in my entire life. The presentation, the graphical fidelity, everything about it looked amazing. Seeing Gears of War characters walk around in regular clothing threw me off for a second. Because you have these like huge dudes wearing power armor basically, and they're walking around like cubes, not the gelatinous kind, but they're walking around these like cubes of meat all the time as Gears characters. But it's different now. The movement system is completely different. Cover looks more dynamic. You can actually do this lying down mechanic behind, like, let's say, a curb or something and get behind shorter cover. You can vault over things now that are higher than your waist. You can climb over objects, onto objects, jump. Gears of War has a jump button, right? I know it doesn't sound like the most thrilling thing in the world, but that changes Gears completely. The dynamic cover,
It's almost like adding sprint to Halo.
Yeah. By the way, how much do you want to bet that we'll see people complain that the gameplay is too good and it should be like the older games? We're gonna see that.
Oh, I reckon there will be some people who are mad that you can prone and climb and jump. There will be.
But the game looks fantastic. I think the coalition were actually shown off because there's a part where Marcus Phoenix jumps over a freezer and he sees enemies behind a set of freezers, so he starts firing through the glass. And the glass shatters, falls on the ground, and it stays there, right? And I just thought this is the coalition showing off because we have not been able to see this entire generation what they can do with Unreal Engine 5. And let's just say they cooks because this game looks gorgeous and it's 4K and it's 60 FPS in the campaign, 120 FPS in the multiplayer, and it's got ray tracing, hardware based ray tracing. And yeah, it's the best looking game I've ever seen in my life. It comes out October, and this will be launching exclusively and lifetime exclusive on Xbox Series XS and PC. Logan, what was your take about the whole Gears thing? Because like to open the show with that, it kind of blew me away.
Yeah, that was not what I was expecting for an open. I figured it would be in the middle somewhere, and like they'd have a little thing on it and then go, okay, tune in after the show for the Gears Direct and here's more. I was not expecting a like, I don't know, deep dive is what the next thing was, but like a shallow dive. I don't know if that's a thing, but it was a pretty in-depth trailer and exposition on it. And, you know, Asha showing up dressed in black with like the messenger of death for the exclusivity announcement on that was just really fun. And I don't know. It was incredible. And my goodness, that game also looks truly horrifying.
Yep.
We finally have the Krill type and corpser type, the haunting Gears 2, Gears 1, like this is pure nightmare fuel stuff. And like I love the idea of them just being like civilian clothes, like, he was just hanging out at a restaurant and oh my gosh, these freaks are coming out of the ground and ripping everybody to shreds. And so I'm just in my leather jacket running around. Let me see if I can find a shotgun somewhere and, just scrape and claw to survive. It's just, Coalition has no peer when it comes to Unreal Engine, and except for Ninja 3, like, and Epic. Like, those are like the three pillars of like Unreal Engine mastery. And it's incredible, dude. I can't wait for it. We'll get into exclusivity, obviously, but yeah, just baller opening for the show. Bravo.
Yep. Let's see. Next up, they showed Fable. This looked even better than last time. Haley Atwell is actually playing the antagonist in the new Fable game.
I can fix her.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I mean, I saw on Twitter today, is she a romance option? Like, it's Fable.
Maybe the world does need to end, Jamie.
Yeah. Oh my god, just where people's minds go all the time. But that game looked fantastic. It looked better than it did last time. It actually saw, Babastone being destroyed. So it looks like, choices are actually going to have consequences in this game. It's not all just like light-hearted stuff because, like, Fable 2, as much as that game was, when it was, how should I put it, over the top, right? Fun. But it still had a very bleak story. And it looks like they're doing that in this as well. Next up, they showed off the Halo Campaign Evolved trailer. That game looks fantastic. It's Halo, right? I've played through the first Halo game many, many times. And I'm looking forward to playing through it, looking all fancy and stuff. But I think people that have been, long-time Halo fans, they're mainly looking at those 3 new missions. There's a space combat mission. My God. Beautiful. But yeah, that's coming out in July. Next up, we have Resonance, A Plague Tale Legacy. That's coming out in August, day 1 in Game Pass. This is basically set in the same universe as the previous Plague Tale games, but set many, many years beforehand. Next up, they showed off a Persona 4 Revival trailer. This game looks fantastic, and I will die on this hill. Persona 4 is the best Persona game. The art style, world building, everything about it. Although I know for a fact when that game comes out, people are going to be memeing the hell out of a song that you hear early in the game about a convenience store, Junis. My God, that is an annoying song. But Persona 4 Revival looks fantastic. It's launching day 1 in Game Pass next year. Next up, they showed off a trailer for State of Decay 3. Far more open, far bigger than previous games. they've clearly put a lot of work into this game because combat in the previous games weren't exactly the best. The visuals weren't exactly the best, but they were a smaller team making a smaller game. Then this is far more ambitious. Next up, they showed off. Let's see. Sea of Thieves expansion. That game's always getting updates. Metro 2039 got a gameplay trailer. Metro's in a phenomenal series, and more people need to play these games. Metro 2030. Yeah, Metro 2039. It looks fantastic. Absolutely phenomenal looking game. And next year is already looking stacked, and it's only June, so that's kind of worrying. Next up, they showed off a game called was it Bad Magpie? That looks pretty cool. Little indie game. They showed off a new trailer for Wolong 2. That first game was brutally difficult for me specifically. I couldn't get to the parrying in that game, but hey, beautiful game. That's also launching day one in Game Pass. Next up, they showed a game called Join Us, which is kind of a, would you call it a Covenant simulator? Something like that.
It's a build your own cult game.
Yeah, a build your own cult game. That looks like it'll be super fun. I think that's also launching in Game Pass in 2027. Next up was a game that was announced that didn't leak somehow, because Xbox stuff tends to leak very early on. This game didn't leak, and I don't know how Xbox kept it quiet, and that's Senua. This isn't a DLC. It's not a standalone expansion. I'm doing air quotes with my fingers. This is a full third game where it's clearly action focused. People that are making the combat in this game actually worked on Devil May Cry, or DMC, and it shows. The big complaint about the previous two games was actually the puzzles. Logan, can you remember how some of the puzzles, how you'd have to line up the branches of some trees?
Oh my gosh, like that game almost made me cross-eyed. Like trying to angle these shimmers a certain way
Yeah.
so that the illusion god would appear, or you would hear this rune thing, and like I enjoyed them. I love the games and the visuals, the story, but yeah, like this looks like next level, and I'm very excited for this one.
Yeah, so an action-focused Senua game, and it looked great. I'm glad they've gone with the name just Senua. I thought Senua Saga Hellblade 2 was a bit much. They should have just called it Hellblade 2. But hey, I like the move. The game looks fantastic. And it is Ninja Theory. They know what they're doing with Unreal Engine 5. And by the way, this game's also coming out next year. Next up, they showed off Fallout 76 DLC. By the way, that game is getting a next-gen update later on this year, where it's going to be 4K 60. In fact, they're actually going to give the Xbox One X an upgrade as well. I think it's going to be native 4K as well. Doom the Dark Ages expansion was announced, where this game has been this expansion has been in development for so long. It's basically a whole-sized game just as an expansion. And considering where that story was going, I think people will really like this expansion. Next up, they showed off a gameplay trailer for Crazy Taxi. This was a pleasant surprise because it was announced at the Game Awards 2 years ago, and then they went silent to the point where everyone thought these games were cancelled. Turns out they're still alive and well, and not only are they alive and well, it'll have single player, multiplayer, but also the Offspring's back. that was the biggest surprise.
Oh yeah, I heard that song and I'm like, okay, we're so back.
Yeah. And I didn't think in a million years they'd actually get them to come back. But let's be honest, I think a lot of people heard that song for the first time just because of Crazy Taxi. But hey, Crazy Taxi's back. That game's going to be great. Yeah, the Gen AI stuff I'll talk about quickly because it put a lot of people off. So I read the translation for the interviews they were doing at GameSpot. And it looks like they were doing that for, placement stuff. So before they made the game, so all the assets in the game are final. Like that's what they made. But it's like as they were developing the game, they had timed. I'm looking for a word, Logan. I can't find it. Temporary, right? They had temporary, pieces of content that were generated by AI before they actually made them. Personally, I'm okay with that. The final product is handmade I'm fine with it. Um, and I'm happy to see Crazy Taxi is back. Hopefully we get more news on like when it's coming out specifically. But yeah, looks fantastic. Next up we got the Xbox Series X25. That's what it's actually called. Xbox unveiled a brand new 25th anniversary of the Xbox Series X. This thing is beautiful. My God in heaven. Transparent consoles need to be a thing regularly again. And like the second they showed this retro bedroom with the original Xbox, I knew immediately. like, like I think a lot of people would have looked at that and thought, "Oh, it's backwards compatibility." It's hardware, right? Showing the transparent Xbox, man, this is it's the best looking custom console I've ever seen. You can buy the controller separately, thank God. Um, Everyone in the auditorium, when it comes to the fans, they got one for free. I think they gave away like 500 Series X's, which is nice. And yeah, Logan, what do you think? Because this console's beautiful, man.
Yeah, I'll admit I was faked out for a split second. I was like, "Dude, PC,
Yeah.
let's go!" But then, it was the console, and I was still very happy because I was wanting one of those as well. That just it pushes our BC hopes for the 25th anniversary down the line. But yeah, I'm super excited for it. It is gorgeous. It reminds me so much of that green OG one back in the day. And I can't wait. It's so cool. And congrats to all the fans.
Yeah. And bear in mind, I was originally planning to go this year, but I couldn't because stupid health reasons. Um, but all I could think when when that was showing off, and they said everyone's getting one for free, I actually thought that's nice, and at the same time I was like, why of all days did I have to be ill? Like I've had ongoing health crap, which I'm not going to talk about, but like, why on earth did I have to have health problems? I could have got a free Xbox. Uh, Now, hopefully, people don't buy these in bulk and scalp them because that happens with collector's edition stuff. Unfortunately, but um, as I was saying before, the online, I think these companies are going to start doing maybe lottery systems when it comes to, you know, collector's edition consoles and maybe next gen consoles because it's just happening way too much, man. But hey, it is what it is. It's a great console. I don't think it's available for pre-order. Is that correct, Logan? Not yet.
I don't believe it's open yet.
Yeah. Anyway, the console looks great. Um, my God, my notes is just not. It's not working today. Uh, oh my God, I'm all over the place. Okay, here we go. For some reason, my notes app just doesn't work. They showed off an expansions for Age of Empires 4. That looks great. Now, they showed off a trailer that this game's also launching day one on Game Pass called Magicians: The Devil's Deal. In my opinion, this was one of the best looking games there. It's basically Bioshock, but you play it as a magician. And I thought this game looked amazing. Logan, what do you think? Because I think that was a big standout for a lot of people.
I'll be honest, I kind of tuned out during this part, so I didn't see this one too much.
Yeah, so it's a first person action adventure shooter where you play as a magician. um Personally, this was like my cup of tea because I'm a big fan of games that have that Bioshock vibe. And personally I don't think enough games have the Bioshock vibe. But yeah, they cooked. Yeah, this is launching day one on Game Pass. For some reason, Twitter is not working today, and I don't know why. Just bear with me for a second. My God, nothing's working. Everything's broken life. But yeah, that's launching day one on Game Pass. I think they also said 2027. By the way, look, have you noticed that we're still in June and there's like 40 games that already have like release dates for next year?
Yeah, it's so funny. Just the GTA and I guess Godzilla and Barbie elephant in the room. I mean, everybody's scared of 2026.
Yeah. And this year, as packed as it is, I think a lot of people are going to learn quickly that it's maybe not a good idea to stack all these games out in the first, like, January stacked all year already, February stacked, and over the next month or so, we're going to see a lot more games added, which is kind of worrying because it's pretty bad at the minute, but it is what it is. Excuse me. Okay, next up we have. Oh my god, my notes app just isn't working. Okay, here we go. Was it Valor Yeah, Valor. This is launching day one on Xbox Game Pass next year. This is a first-person shooter fantasy roguelike. I know that the roguelike thing might scare people off, but with it being a first-person shooter, I think people might like it. Next up, they showed the Elder Scrolls Online. That's getting brand new content. Flight Simulator 2024 is getting a US-based world update, which is great to see. Their world updates are gorgeous. Next up, they showed off a trailer for Where the Winds Meet. This is a free-to-play game, and it shadow dropped. You can play it right now, which is lovely. Huge download, by the way. I think it's like 170 gigabytes, but that is a big open world game. Next up, they showed off a brand new Castlevania game. That looks great. Next up, they showed Vivarium, which is a 2D 90s animation or anime style game. Looked fantastic.
It looks like Studio Ghibli,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, totally does. Same art style. Next up, they showed off Persona 6. This is arguably one of the best things that were there, or biggest things that were there, because people have been wondering, where's Persona 6? It's been so long since a new mainline Persona game. And yeah, they announced 6 there. That's also launching day one on Game Pass. No gameplay yet, but I feel like that'll come next year after 4 remakers came out. Next up, Spyro the Dragon. There's a brand new one coming out in 2027. Logan, I know you've been talking about Spyro for so long, so I know you must be ecstatic.
Yeah, I've been waiting 20 years almost for a new Spyro. It's been a very long time for Spyro, and I'm so excited, man. Like I remember Spyro, I remember all the way back on PS1, PS2 era, and it's been a long journey and a lot of different variations of it, but I'm glad to see a brand new adventure from Toys for Bob.
Yeah.
They did a phenomenal job with the Reignited trilogy and then the modern Crash games as well. So it sounds like there's a huge desire for this. Like if you look at the trailer, I think it already had like 7+ million views for Spyro, which is nuts. And people clearly missed the Purple Dragon, and I'm glad he's back. And reportedly, there's other Spyro projects lined up. So I'm very, very happy to see Spyro back.
Yeah, looked fantastic. And by the way, this will be the first Spyro game that offers full flight.
That's crazy that they never really had much of it before. Like there were occasional like mini games or like challenges where you'd glide and race something, but not like full-fledged flight like this.
Yeah, which is good to see. Next up, they showed off a brand new trailer for Clockwork Revolution. Not gonna lie, this is one of my most anticipated games completely because I love RPGs. This is a steampunk time travel based RPG. What's not to love? And this game's also launching exclusively and permanently on Xbox. And they ended off the show with a Modern Warfare 4 DMZ gameplay. Sorry, DMZ gameplay trailer, not DMC. It's a musical. But yeah, this looked fantastic. Like, I'll be honest, I'll not talk about this long time because I know most people listening don't care about extraction games. But as someone that needs ARC Raiders to have competition, let me tell you, from everything I've learned about this game, or this game mode in the past 2 days, ARC Raiders, they have competition now. Finally. And this looks like everything people want from a military first-person shooter extraction game set in the Call of Duty universe. My God. I'll talk about this at another time. But hey, great show. Microsoft's presentation was fantastic. But let's talk about the huge elephant in the room. Exclusives. This has been the hot topic over the past couple of days. And let me tell you, when that Gears of War trailer played, and then the gameplay was slowing down. It did the sizzle reel that had, it looked like multiplayer gameplay or just a bunch of gameplay from different sections of the game. And then it showed you the logo. And I was looking at the bottom half of the screen. And by the way, I watched other people's reactions. to that trailer, and you can see people's eyes sort of look at the bottom half of the screen where they're expecting to see a logo, and there was no logos at all. And Asha Sharma was on screen, and there she said it. Look, getting back to Xbox means getting back to Gears, which means getting back to exclusives. I was blown away because yes, it was leaked the day before. Although I will say this, I get that the gaming news cycle relies on leaks and rumors now. That is the quote unquote meta. Let me tell you, I hate that. I've hated
It
this.
was a buzzkill.
Yeah,
100%.
like I don't know if I've told Logan this before, but I'll mention it briefly. Like I found out that Persona 3, 4, and 5 were coming to Xbox about 2 months before it happened. And the only thing I posted on social media was, wouldn't it be cool if, Persona 4 Golden came to Xbox? Like, I'm just randomly posting about this PSP game or a PlayStation Vita game or whatever. And, like, I wasn't directly talking about it, but I was giving hints. And the problem is, a lot of leak-based content, they have to do it right before the show happens, and they spoil it for everyone. This kind of like coverage needs to end, man. Right? I don't know who finds this super like. Obviously, look, it gets a lot of clicks. Don't get me wrong, right? Talking about leaks and rumors, but like the fact that just every showcase now is ruined beforehand. Like, thankfully, Microsoft kept a lot of things quiet, but like the exclusivity thing should have been kept, right? It's a bit annoying. Yeah, Tifa and Tifa and Street Fighter that leaked. You know, it's just annoying. And it's a bit disappointing. I think stuff like that should just be kept for the show. Maybe tease things, but like I will never. I've heard out some serious things from like things happening at Ubisoft in the next couple of months, but like I'm not going to talk about it. I'll hint, but I think just the way the gaming news cycle now is obsessed with leaks and rumors, it's just annoying. And it spoils every single event. Nintendo stuff leaked like weeks ago, right? On Reset Era, which is a trash fire, place on the internet. And it's happening time and time again. But that being said, getting back to exclusives, it's the right move. In my opinion, and for people that don't know, literally an hour after, maybe 2 hours after the show ended on Sunday, I put out a video talking about my full opinion. So if you want, the video's live on the channel. The support's greatly appreciated. But in my opinion, the multi-platform strategy that started in 2024 was a failed experiment. It's not promoting competition. Xbox moved away from this console focus thing that they used to do to not talking about the console anymore. They start talking about Xbox as an ecosystem. Ecosystem, PC, cloud, all the time. Never talked about the console anymore. And over the past 100 days, we've seen Asha Sharma. At first, when she stepped in, people were very dubious and suspicious of this person that's never been in gaming before, all of a sudden running Xbox. And the reason I gave her the benefit of the doubt is because she has something we haven't seen before. Perspective. She has a different kind of perspective, right? She's been working with different kinds of companies, different divisions, trying to make them, profitable, successful, right? And she has to learn about this stuff on the go. And the reason why I had so much faith is because Nintendo had the exact same situation in the early 2000s. Reggie Fils-Aimé had nothing to do with gaming before he actually took over Nintendo of America, right? And what happened? He led Nintendo of America through Nintendo's most profitable era, right? He's the reason why Wii Sports was packaged with the Wii, right? And that was a behemoth online. So like I had this faith in her because of that, and she has perspective. She can see through the crap. She doesn't have to see the fanboy stuff. She can see like what's good for Xbox, what isn't good for Xbox, straight up, right? Without any preferences. And what we've seen over the past 100 days is a focus back onto the console. Focus back onto getting console features out regularly, which we haven't had in years. Talking about Xbox as a console rather than a platform, right? She's been saying all the right things, doing all these small moves, like, changing the Xbox logo, right? Putting out a dynamic background, giving us more regular features every other week till the new console comes out, basically, right? All these small moves were adding up, right? And all the things she was saying were adding up. But talking about exclusives and saying this isn't just a experiment with these two games, it's a full-on lifetime thing. This is it going forward. They're gonna have exclusives, right? And to me, the right things were said, the right things is happening. Yes, I would love to change things such as Fable and Halo, but apparently they contractually obligated to releasing those ports, which is I think weird. Like I don't know Sony's process for certification, but clearly it's something regarding contract signings, needing these games on the platform. But regardless, Gears had basically the most impact over the past week of any game that was announced. And that game alone shows that people want Xbox games, right? People need to see that Xbox can grow. And like I mentioned this in my previous video, right? Microsoft saw a 12% increase in Xbox Series sales in the UK. And what happened in May when they had this growth? They had an exclusive game, Forza Horizon 6. So, like, exclusives do help, and I don't know why there's this weird sentiment online that Xbox can't have exclusives. They're not allowed to talk about exclusives. And frankly, do you know what it is to me? It's entitlement. People feel that, hey, they prefer a different piece of hardware, and they should get the games they want because they don't want to support Xbox. Right? We've all seen this for a while. I'm not going to mention names, but you see media outlets, they clearly don't want Xbox to thrive. They'll talk about them only in multi-platform, right, stuff. Every game is criticized unless it goes to PlayStation, right? That's another trend. And the whole logo talk we saw last week, to me, it took the emphasis away from games, right? As soon as Microsoft start putting different console logos in their, announcements, which is going to change in the future, nobody would talk about the games anymore, right? So with Fable, for instance, they showed off a brand new gorgeous trailer, new gameplay, clearly an improvement in visuals. Haley Atwell as the antagonist. But were people talking about that? No, they were talking about the logo in the trailer. So I've been right this whole time. So all my rants about this logo stuff, I was right. But yeah, back to the exclusive thing. It was the right move. It's time. New leadership for a division that clearly needed help. They're saying all the right things. They're doing all the right things. I've been rambling for like 10 minutes and I need a drink of water. Logan, while I get a drink of water, will you talk about, your impression of the whole like exclusivity announcement?
Yeah, you and I are in firm agreement. Exclusives need to happen. There's a reason why the industry, as much as it has changed in our lifetime, there has been one constant that has remained, and it is the platforms have exclusives, and it's what draws you to that platform. Like, as much as having an awesome service or some features or UI or this, like, makes them differentiate or, cool in different ways, like, at the end of the day, bottom line, you go there for the games. And it was just Xbox was in an impossible situation to promote console if literally you can to someone else you couldn't in good faith recommend the console over a different console if you could get all of Xbox's games and all of their games on the other device. You just couldn't do that. It would not be a good faith argument. So it just had to happen. Like, for someone invested in the platform like myself, like, I was gonna get it regardless because I'm an Xbox guy, but still, like, if, I had a friend who didn't have a console and was wanting to get into gaming, like, I couldn't in good faith say, "Just get the Xbox," like, if it's just purely about game reasons. So now you can. You could say it's got all these features and does all this stuff. Plus, there are things you can only get through them. Like, backwards compatibility, unprecedented for this console. Um, you know, smart smart play, quick resume, all this stuff. It just had to happen. And I've been pushing exclusivity for a while, probably a bit more aggressively than some kumbaya types would like,
Yeah.
but it wasn't for toxic reasons. It was for I want this thing to survive and see the next battle. I don't want this song and dance to just end because they're defeatist and laying on the ground and going like, "Why bother? Oh well, it is what it is." That's the defeatist wuss attitude they had for the past 2 years. It was ridiculous. There's a reason why they were a joke. Honestly, a straight up joke for a couple years online. And they have fixed it around completely. I know it's 2 exclusives so far, and yes, Perfect World, Fable, and Halo and Senua would have been exclusive as well, but I get it. You honor your commitments. I'm an honor guy. I totally get it. Like, you gave your word on something, you have written in contracts that you're doing this. It's already been out there publicly and displayed that they're coming to this platform. I get it. I truly get it. As much as I wish it wasn't so, I get it. But being able to, because of loopholes and Gears not technically being announced with platforms and, Clockwork, same thing, that those are the first two you choose. And as a follow up, Matthew Ball in his interview, that he had earlier today, he said that they made sure it was two and that they were from two different types of games to make it clear that this is not just an anniversary thing or a one franchise because it was an icon thing. It's something to expect from Xbox going forward. And I just say hallelujah. I'm glad that this Kumbaya era is dead finally. Hence, fire extinguisher. It just, let's put this behind us, move forward, be ruthless, be efficient, and be just aggressively pursuing greatness. You know, the fight's not won, but we have a fighting chance now. And it's so great to see common sense in the building. It's sad it took literally someone from outside the apartment to walk in to notice it was in flames, but it is what it is. I'm glad she showed up with a fire extinguisher because everybody was getting cooked. So, um, I'm just, I'm glad she's here, man. And Matthew Ball, I'm glad he's here. Um, they seem to just have a great plan going forward. Again, this is just the start. There's far more that needs to be done. They've got to get more exclusives. They got to continue to ingratiate themselves with the community. Great start, by the way, so far, but not done. And, pursue further avenues of success in other countries, other devices, prices, options. A wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Want that 25th anniversary BC batch? That would be a really
Oh
good
yeah.
goodwill gesture. Just saying. Um. So yeah, I'm just euphoric, and I could care less if the Ivory Tower San Fran blog boys are butthurt and upset about it. But it just exclusives needed to come back. They're back, baby. Get ready to learn Xbox, buddy. That's all I can say. Like, you need one to play the games. You guys were perfectly happy to tell all of us wanting third party games to come to Xbox, just buy a PlayStation.
Yeah.
So, my, how the tables turn, my friend. How they turn. And it's just, the masks off has been just glorious. There's been so much clown showage. The kumbaya is gone. Just I'm just downright I'm in hog heaven. This is just great stuff.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know why, and I'm gonna put a lot of people on blast in a minute. I don't know why people think this whole kumbaya thing was working. I really don't. And like, bear in mind, when Xbox started announcing the multi-platform stuff, we saw a bunch of different reactions to it, right? We saw some people think it's not a big deal. We saw some people go complete. They went into the deep.
Psycho.
Yeah, went psycho. Stopped talking to people in the community. Start calling us names, right? People that were like, "Oh, I'm done with Xbox," and they're posting pictures of their console and in a bin or whatever, and leaving the platform. And like my reaction at the time is like, I have this thing called composure, right? I know how I'm kind of self-taught when it comes to PR online, because I learned the hard way about different things. And that
Yeah, I don't say everything I think or feel sometimes.
yeah, and like, my God, no chance in hell. Like, I'm saying that stuff, and like, bear in mind, I'm British. I'm from the Northeast. I can't swear like I want to. You know how often I have to like catch myself, like, don't say it, Jamie. Like, don't say this specific swear word. Only British people and Australian people say. Like, don't say it.
Boy.
Yeah, and I compose myself. So like when I saw that bad gaming news 2 years ago, I didn't lose my marbles. I saw like Microsoft's doing a move that I disagree with. I don't understand it, and I'm gonna move on. That's it, right? And but before we continue, we have another super chat by excuse me. By the way, I've been talking today for a total of 5 hours, so if it sounds like my voice is going, that's why.
Man, you've been preaching.
Yeah, I'm trying. So we have Zenshia. Sorry if I butchered your name there. Super chat for $10. Thank you very much. This person said, "Return exclusivity is important." Sorry, return exclusivity importantly shows their partners that Microsoft is committed to Xbox. Game skipping Xbox was a big problem. Damn right. Some still do, but it will continue to decrease since Xbox is a platform again. Nail on the head, right? When Microsoft started doing the multi-platform thing in 2024, that was a big topic online. We were all talking about like, will these games come to Xbox in future? That was a big topic. Like, is Xbox still going to get third-party games? And that was a concern. And it wasn't a concern for me because, I did have faith that, Microsoft would have like a handle on the situation. But now we're seeing more Japanese games come to Xbox than ever before. Yeah, a lot of those were Phil Spencer's moves. But let's be honest, we haven't seen Xbox grow anywhere. Not really. And now we see Asha Sharma doing something we haven't seen in a while. Proactive change. We're seeing things change. We're seeing things in the industry. Like, look, Phil Spencer saved Xbox, right? We could all agree. In 2013, he saved Xbox. They ripped out the Kinect. They got to work in backwards compatibility. They brought down the Xbox price. All that stuff. And Xbox survived. But I think Phil Spencer's way of wanting to change the industry didn't work because I have this theory that I think he thought that if we start doing multi-platform stuff, everyone will start doing it. Because more games and more consoles will always mean more money. The problem is this kumbaya attitude, it only works if everyone does it.
It was idealistic and naive, and it's sweet, and I wish it was so, but it's just not so.
Yeah, and like I would love it if every game was on everything. I'd love that, but like Zen just said, like it's been a problem. Microsoft missing out these games. Like I've heard in the past month or so by some relatively big Japanese developers of them saying they want to bring their games to Xbox, but they just want more sales of the console out there, right? And it's like that's what we've been saying, right? And like, while I don't think companies like Ubisoft or EA were going to pull their games anytime soon, 90% of the games we get aren't from those companies. They're from independent developers, AA publishers such as Focus Entertainment, THQ and all that stuff. And, Japanese companies like Square Enix has a lot of titles come to Xbox now, thankfully. But because Xbox will sell better now, we're going to see even more games come over. So, like, the exclusive thing, like, that will help, but more Xboxes being sold benefits us all. And I hate the fact that I see these people online, and I'm not going to mention names, but I'm going to indirectly point at these people because I'm polite. I see these people, these the good faith bad actors, we'll call them, right? Where they saying for the past 2 years that, oh, it's great Xbox does multi-platform stuff, but these people don't go out there and at PlayStation, they don't at Nintendo asking them for multi-platform stuff. You know, they'd love Xbox to, like, what was all the talk last week online? Xbox being transparent, showing different logos. Not a single one of these people made a video, made an article, at PlayStation, at Nintendo saying, why can't we see other companies' logos? Why can't we see your games on other platforms? Do you know why? And this is just in my opinion. They did it because they didn't want to stop getting access, right? Access to events, access to free material such as game codes and whatnot. And it looks like I was right, because you don't see anyone talk about this stuff. And again, I would love if every game was on everything. We just don't live in that fantasy world. We really don't. So, like, seeing these small moves, they all add up. Clockwork Revolution, very big RPG to have exclusive, and it'll work out. And by the way, back to the whole bad faith actors, I have noticed an uptick in people saying Gears of War has multiplayer and it needs to be on more platforms. It's never been a problem before, right? Why all of a sudden are we talking about if Gears of War will have enough players for the online? We've never talked about this stuff. Every Gears of War game has launched basically as an Xbox exclusive. Nobody's once complained about the lack of players online. So all this talk I see, it's that bad faith crap where they're pretending to be goody two-shoes, wanting Xbox to be on everything, every Xbox game to be on everything. But they'll not ever talk about other companies, right? I mentioned this yesterday in Twitter, and I'll mention it now. There's been talk for a long time about Microsoft, about how, it's so good that they put their games everywhere, and they don't mention it for other companies. And it happens all the time. All the talk in the industry this past week was logos on Xbox. But did anyone bring this up when it came to the State of Play event? No. Did anyone bring this up today when, Nintendo had their showcase? No. Did people have to look online to see if Stellar Blade was coming to Xbox? Yeah, because there's no logo there. And it's okay for other companies to do exclusives, but not Microsoft. And whenever Microsoft launched games in the past, by the way, there's another a bad good faith thing I see a lot, is that exclusives never worked for Xbox. That proves nothing, and it's diddly squat, and here's why. Every time Microsoft had an exclusive in the past during the Xbox Series generation, there was always some manufactured reason or nitpick, which, let's face it, perception is reality, and it changed the perception of these games to the point where these games weren't selling. These games weren't pushing hardware because you didn't have articles about how good these games were. You had articles about how bad they were. For instance, Redfall was originally announced as an immersive sim, right? And what did we get at launch? It wasn't an immersive sim, and it wasn't 60 FPS. There was a big sticking point with all of these games that launched at 30. Hellblade 2, one of the best-looking games of all time, launched at 30 frames per second. People said it was controversial. Starfield was the first exclusive RPG in a long time by Bethesda on Xbox. Should it have been a bigger deal? Hell yeah, Starfield's amazing. But you know what? IGN called the game controversial at launch. Why was it controversial? Because it was 30 frames per second? That was why. And to me, the big turning point, really, for Xbox's games when it comes to perception is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. That game came out. It performed great. It looked great. Critically, it looked great. Apparently, Disney and Microsoft were on the phone basically within a month trying to figure out if they're going to get a sequel done, and there will be a sequel. And that was a big turning point for me. So Microsoft didn't let their exclusive plan play out, where in 2018, Phil Spencer and Xbox started buying all these studios so they could bolster their first-party lineup. A lot of those companies couldn't put out games early on because they were stuck in the house during the pandemic. The bad lockdown era where most of their UK studios, or all UK studios, were shut down for a year and a half, right? So you have these companies that couldn't put out games, Xbox Series X and S couldn't sell more because they didn't really have more they didn't have first party lineup for their console. They had Gears Tactics, and that's a super niche genre, right? And here we are years later, where they have this huge portfolio of first party studios and games, and like they could have used these games to push hardware, and they couldn't because of this kumbaya multi-platform strategy. It didn't work. Now, again, I'm not one of these people that lost their mind with the multi-platform stuff. I just didn't agree with it. I'm liking the moves that Asha Sharma is doing right now, and if she continues doing this, Xbox is going to be great. We are seeing talk at the minute how the Xbox Helix might be delayed or something changing because look, Logan, we've talked about this before. They can't launch $1,000 console. No one can.
Yeah, DOA if
Yeah.
that happens.
Like when these consoles came out, the Series XS and PlayStation 5, remember how people were like scalping them online? Right? You had people buying these $500 consoles and they were selling them on eBay for like $3,000, right? Unfortunately, people were buying them. But like that was a different time. This is now. And like I'll be honest, I still think consoles should cost $500. That is a hill I'm dying on. I don't want to hear about RAM. I don't want to hear about the cost of these things. Get it sorted. Because you can't launch consoles at that price. You just can't. Like the term consumer electronics, you're pushing people out if you pricing these things too high, right? And I don't want to hear gaming as a luxury thing, right? Consoles have always been an affordable way into gaming, and the fact that you're going to have consoles in general that are the same price as decent gaming PCs is absurd. Hell, the Steam machine has been announced for months, and they haven't given a price yet, right? Because I think they know they can't price it $1,000 when you can probably get a PC that's more powerful for that price. So what we're seeing now, the strategy's changing when it comes to hardware. We're seeing the strategy change when it comes to games and first party game releases, and I like what I'm saying. So like when it comes to Xbox as a whole, let me tell you, I can see so much positivity about the changes. People actually beginning to believe in Asha Sharma because she's being proactive in actually changing Xbox for the better. They actually having proactive moves in the gaming space. They're showing to their gamers that they're actually willing to do exclusives again, and they are. And so I say, let them compete. Let Xbox compete with PlayStation. Nintendo's doing their own little thing, but let them compete with PlayStation. Like, do we really want to live in a world where PlayStation gets cocky again and tells people to work 2 jobs to buy a PlayStation? No, we don't want that, right? Xbox was at their best when they were number 1, and that was during the 360 era. And they learned and got humbled in the following generation. It's happened multiple times. It happened with PlayStation, and it happened with Xbox, right? Like Nintendo had their problems with the Wii U, but like this time around, we could have Xbox thrive, we could have Nintendo thrive, we could have PlayStation thrive. Now, isn't that what we all want? Unfortunately, I see journalists say things like, Microsoft should just be a publisher. That is a hilariously bad take, and it's sad that you get paid to do this for a living, and you have crap opinions like that. But hey, that's just me. Logan, we've been talking for like 2.5 hours. Have you got anything else to say before we close out the show?
I would just close with Xbox, Asha, Matthew, Jason, whoever, if anybody's listening. Thank you for what you guys have been doing so far. Just has been a breath of fresh air. Really appreciated from a longtime fan. Um, Very, very happy with the direction things are going. Like I said, this is just the start, though. There's a lot more that needs to be done. But kudos. And, this is an important year, the 25th anniversary. And, the E3 equivalent was great. And, there's still Gamescom, there's QuakeCon, there's BlizzCon. And then hopefully, I would assume there is a 25th anniversary stream. And just really, really, really go balls to the wall for that, please. Just make it an absolute, just killer day. That's all I ask, please.
Yeah. And but before we end the show, I'll mention this. Asha Sharma talked about how like the next 100 days is crucial to the growth of Xbox, and it is because they have two of the biggest games coming this year. Call of Duty is going to be big with Xbox. Modern Warfare coming back is a great thing. Myself, I didn't like the weapons in Black Ops 7. Awful. You have, Extraction popping off, and you have Call of Duty that might end up having the best one, right? Gears of War coming back after 7 years. Crazy, and Halo campaign evolved. Fable coming next year. Like they have a good lineup for the next 2 years, which is great. The exclusive strategy will pay off. It's just I really hope, and we see more people in the industry do this, like really call out these bad faith actors online to them, because I try not to interact with any of these bad faith people, but my God, they make it so difficult sometimes. It's blatantly obvious when someone's saying Xbox should do one thing, but they never mention it for other companies, right? And it's such a shame, because all three companies are at the best when they're all trying to be number one. None of this talk of, oh, who's third and should they survive? Like, that's terrible. But yeah, anyway, everyone in chat has been amazing once again. We'll be back for another episode of All Things Xbox Podcast, same time next Tuesday. I will say this, my throat has been, I'm struggling to speak at the minute, but like we have some topics we haven't been able to go over today, some things that were mentioned during and like after the Xbox showcase, so we'll talk about that stuff next week, as well as more games that I haven't been able to fit on that list that were announced for Xbox, and I'm struggling to breathe. But yeah, back the same time next week. I should have another video out by the end of the week, hopefully. The link to my previous video, the monthly video of the upcoming games, because there's a lot of games coming out in June for Xbox. Hope you enjoy it. The link is in the description down below. It's 10 biggest new games coming to Xbox in June. Let me tell you, I've got the list of games coming up every month up until November. It stacks. It's really stacks.
Except for November.
Except for November. No, honestly, I think my top 10 list or top 20 list of November, for me, it's probably just going to have to be me just say, yeah, it's GTA and, Godzilla, and I'll just, like, sit there and drink a pint for 10 minutes.
Or get some Godzilla action figures and have them fight or something.
Yeah, I'll think of something, but I'll think of something fun to do. But hey, everyone in chat's been amazing. We hope everyone has a great day, everybody. We are out. Peace. And of course, my mouse died. Every time I go to close out the show, the mouse either dies or something happens. Yeah, we're still live. And for some reason, I can't click anything off. So bear with me, everyone in chat. Bear with me, Logan, because I don't like the fact that this happens sometimes, where just the page stops working. My God in heaven, this is annoying. I'll reload the page. One anticlimactic way to end the show. It won't end for some reason.
Quick, say something controversial.
Yeah, I'll just mention the worst possible thing before I end the show. But yeah, anyway, it's working now. Anyway, I hope everyone has a great week. Again, supporting the channel with likes and retweeting. It does help the channel out, and I have great ambitious things that I want to do for the rest of the year. And I am hoping to go to the Xbox show next year to cover the new console and everything. Anyway, we're out, everybody. Peace.